the purpose of sex is to reproduce.
Not necessarily.
Biologically.
Have you ever had sex?
No.
No? Okay. When you do have sex, do you plan to have a child every time you have sex?
Yes.
That's boring, man. You should try some other stuff. All right, I think we're good to go. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
All right, I'm doing good. Chat, let me know if he sounds good. If not, I'll adjust the volume as needed. So, just real quick, you were in my we got acquainted a little bit in my YouTube comments. You were talking about how you're a Matt Walsh connoisseur, as it were.
Did I say that?
No, but I remember. You know what? I don't want to put any words in your mouth. Why don't you go ahead and let me know what was going on in your own words?
And with the YouTube chat?
Yeah, with the YouTube comments, or what you wanted to talk about, or I remember specifically you commented something about.
We'll see who cancels who.
Sorry, follower alert. You commented something about you wanted. I remember in the Twitter DMs you're talking about you wanted to discuss what is a woman, or maybe abortion. I know that gun rights was also on the list, but I'm not a big person that debates gun rights, so
That's fine. That's fine.
you know, it's up to you.
Yeah, abortion and transgenderism. Mainly abortion for me personally is my biggest thing.
Okay.
We can talk about anything. So where do you want to start?
It doesn't matter to me personally. I will say that the
Hello? Hello? I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
There you are. Yeah.
I'm sorry. My setup's all wacky because of the move.
No, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, no, trans issues I think would be the most relevant to current times right now. But you know, if you would rather discuss abortion, I'm totally open to do that.
I mean, we can do. I don't know how much time you were thinking because we've changed a couple times, but we can do both. I think.
Don't matter none to me, brother.
Okay. So I've watched a few of your videos, but I don't really know where you stand on anything.
Sure.
So I'll just go through a couple questions.
Sure.
You just go ahead and describe yourself for on abortion. Like, what your stance?
My stance: it should be allowable up until the point of birth.
Okay. And do you think the fetus is alive?
Yes.
Like a human being.
It is alive. It is human. Yes. Well,
Okay,
it is
human.
It is biologically a human. Yes.
Okay. Is there a difference there I'm missing?
I think it's human. I think it's alive, but I don't think it's a person.
Okay, so what's an alive human is kind of my definition of a person. I mean, maybe not that accurate, but what's the difference? So what's a person then?
A person is somebody that we grant human, I guess human rights would be a bad way to put it. We grant certain rights and privileges to, I should say. So somebody that we would consider, you know, man, how do I even put that? Tricky to put that into words. It would be, I would say the definition would be, give me just a minute.
Take your time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would say that somebody that we give the rights, that we give rights to, certain rights, and recognize, like on paper, to have those rights, you know.
So, who's we?
In this society, I guess.
So, slaves weren't people.
They weren't considered people by society.
Well, we didn't give them rights.
That's correct. We didn't consider them people. That is correct.
So they weren't.
No, they were people. We just did not consider them people. But you know, I guess by law,
you define
if you're going by the law, the letter of the law, no, they weren't people. But if you're going by my personal moral scale, yes, they were people.
Okay. So legally, you could have killed them, right? we're using the same logic. They're not a person, then that's why you can kill an unborn baby, is because they're not a person, in your words. Then you should be able to kill, back then, completely legal to kill a slave or a woman who didn't have the same rights.
Yes, it was completely legal to kill and do whatever you wanted with slaves, as far as I know. I don't know if there was any kind of law like protecting them at all, unless it was like you were attacking somebody else's slave, in which case that would be like a violation of their property rights, technically, back then. But we consider, we don't consider black people slaves anymore. We consider them people. So I feel. I feel that kind of label of not considering somebody a person is acceptable for a fetus who is attached to the mother and literally dependent upon the mother for biological existence. Whereas with a slave, I mean, they are, they've been born, they are outside, they are conscious, they are feeling, and they deserve to have the freedom to self-actualize. A fetus cannot self-actualize.
So what does that mean, self-actualize?
Make independent choices, I suppose.
Okay. Well, you said a fetus is entirely dependent on the mother, which is true. So is a newborn.
Yes, but it's not biologically dependent on the mother. The thing is, in order to remove a fetus from the mother and make the mother independent of that fetus, you have to, in most cases, kill it. You don't have to do that with a newborn.
Right. But that's not the level that you equipped to personhood. You said it has to be able to live on its own, and we give it the rights, which
I didn't say live on its own. I said biologically independent of somebody else. It is literally attached to the mother. It is a parasite. It is feeding off of her body.
So is a newborn.
Yes, but it does not have to by default. You can literally, people give up newborns for adoption. It doesn't have to be attached to the mother.
But it needs someone. So
that's what we have government systems for. That's what we have child protection in place for. That's what the society's for. Now, typically, I would hope that doesn't have to be the fallback. That doesn't have to happen. And that will happen a lot less if we do have abortion laws in place. But, it does happen. And so we
will not have to help newborns as much if we kill them first. That is true.
Well, they're not newborns until they're born. That's the definition.
Right. But if we kill them before they're newborns, and we'll have less newborns to take care of. That is true.
That is true. Yes, that is a thing that is true.
So my question, you gave the reason that abortion is okay before they're born is they're not people yet. They're not persons as defined by law. You said we, but you said
by we, I mean a collective we, like society.
Right. Society. Which is law. Law is the voice of society, right?
For the most part, we could get into the nitty gritty, but that's what it's supposed to be. So, for all intents and purposes, yes.
So, throughout human history, when law or society, even outside of law, said these are not people, when they were Jews,
what the fuck?
Black people, women, etc., homosexuals, and disabled people. I mean, a lot of them were said they weren't people.
That is true. That did happen.
Would it have been? What's that?
I said that is true. That did happen.
Right. So why is killing them any different than killing someone who hasn't been born yet? If the underlying principle is they're not considered people by society.
Well, once again, they're not biologically dependent on somebody else's body for sustenance.
Many disabled people are, actually.
No, they're not. They're not literally attached to somebody else.
That doesn't matter. That's not what you said. You said they are not defined as persons, therefore you can kill them.
Well, hold on. My definition of a person was somebody who was not directly biologically dependent on another human being, who can self-actualize. So, if you need systems in place,
you said whoever, whatever society says or whatever the law says. That's what you said.
Hold on, say that again.
You said whatever
I didn't
the
say
law
whatever the
said.
law said. I said that's ideally what it would be. I said we could get into the
Ideally.
nitty-gritty of like what, like the law, which we can if you want. Like the law being what it is and how I take issue with that. Hold on, I'm turning down my game volume. There you go. Okay.
You said that culture, what culture says defines a person. You said at the very beginning.
Wait, I didn't say anything about culture. I don't think I even used that word.
Oh, sorry, society, not culture. Society.
Yes, but that's by law. Just because the society defines something as true or false doesn't mean that, it is, what's the word? Objectively true or false. For a while we thought the Earth was flat, and that most people thought that. That doesn't mean that the Earth is flat. We have objective reality.
Right, but I mean, I was just going by what you said. That's what you said at the beginning. A person is what society determines as a person.
No, I don't think that's what I said at all, actually. I said that wasn't my definition. My definition is, to be honest, I have to sit down and think about the exact definition that I want a little bit more. But in general, I think that it becomes a person once it is born, and it has a certain amount of rights that a fetus does not have by virtue of being directly attached to another human being for survival. And if you detach it, then it will die.
Right, so 9 inches before the birth canal, it's not a person?
No, not yet.
So the 9 inches or whatever, the 3 or 4 inches, that's what makes it a person?
Yeah, once it's born, it is a person, yes. That is the dividing line that we've decided on.
Don't you think that's a little arbitrary?
Sure. So is the age of consent, so is a bunch of other stuff. I mean, 21 years old to drink alcohol, extremely arbitrary. But,
right, but
there's no real difference between somebody who's... There's no real difference between somebody who's 20 and 364 days and the next day when they turn 21, and yet that's the day, like, they cannot legally walk. They could literally be arrested, technically, for walking into a gas station and trying to get a beer right the day before their 21st birthday. Like, they can. It's completely arbitrary. Yes.
Right,
but we have to have those dividing lines.
The difference being, one is human life that you're taking away, that you identify as human life and that you are taking away. The other one's alcohol. Also, we have a scientific consensus, and science doesn't go by consensus. We have a scientific fact of when life began.
I believe that life began billions of years ago, and it continues on and continues on and continues on.
Life of a single organism.
Oh, is a sperm cell not alive?
It's not a human. It is alive.
No, but it is alive. So doesn't life begin at the sperm cell then?
No, because it's not a human.
Why not? It's alive.
Because it doesn't have its own DNA.
Yes, it does. By definition, it does.
It does not have its own complete DNA.
Complete? What do you mean complete? It is alive. It can swim. It can move. Like what? Does life not start at the spermies?
No.
Why not?
I just said
it's alive.
It doesn't have its own. It doesn't have its own DNA.
Yes, it does. It has. In fact, it has unique DNA. It has unique DNA.
As when life begins at conception, when the sperm goes into the egg, they right then and there at that moment, they make a unique DNA that has never been and never will be. Is a sperm cell
alive?
Yes.
Okay, then life clearly begins before conception.
Human life does not.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So human life begins at conception, sure, but I still don't consider that a person.
And the reason, what is the reason being?
There's no feeling, there's no thought, there's no neural processes going on. It's just kind of there. It's a vegetable.
So, keyword there, vegetable. If someone who is, let's say in a coma, who is a vegetable, are they human life? They don't have any
that's a very tricky road to go down, because some would say no, and in fact, enough people say no that they will actually, sign papers saying, if I ever go into a coma, take me off life support. I don't want to live like that. That's not a life.
Well, that's not the same thing.
No, it's not. But
it's consenting. That's consenting to. Did
the fetus consent to be born?
It is his natural process.
Okay, but did they consent
By
to that?
definition, by its actions, it is. It's growing.
Wait, what?
You can't. No, a fetus does not consent.
Right, so you brought a human
It
being
doesn't-
into life
does it
against their
consent to be
consent. So
killed?
if this is
Does it
about
con-
consent, I think I have the
No,
upper
it's
hand
not
here.
about consent. It's not about consent.
Well,
I'm
then
saying
don't bring it up.
I was saying it. I was saying you brought it up. I was saying that it's completely.
you said the
that
word
has nothing to do
consent.
with it. You said they consent to being taken off of the life support, whatever.
No, I said.
I'm saying that they're completely
I said
different
they
topics.
signed papers. Well, technically you're right. I said they signed papers that I didn't use the word consent, but I did imply it. Consenting to being taken off life support and their life ending. That is correct, because they have decided for themselves that is not a way they want to live.
That has nothing to do with what. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
You're the one who brought up the coma.
You said brain dead. I know I did. For
Right.
a good reason.
I said, and I stand by this, a fetus is a vegetable. It does not think, it does not feel, it does not act. It is nothing. It is a clump of cells.
That is false. You're a clump of cells, and I'm a clump of cells.
You're right, but we're a clump of cells that can feel and experience and love and cherish and be sad and happy, all that good stuff.
A fetus at most stages is able to feel and hear.
Based on what
And
like definition of feeling and hearing?
If they have to do a procedure on a fetus at a certain, I forget what week it is, they give it anesthetics. The fetus,
Okay, but
not
I feel
the
like the week is important, because if you're talking about like fetuses being able to hear and stuff,
well, before
that
9
doesn't
months.
start until like week 26 or something, 24 maybe. I don't know.
So they have the whole neural path, all the neural pathways are together by, where is it? Week 18.
Okay.
So they can feel. They have an entire nervous system complete.
So are you arguing that abortion should be illegal after 18 months? Or after 18 weeks?
No, but I'm saying
Well,
we can
hold
start
on
there.
then if that's what you're arguing, we can have that conversation, but you don't think that it should be allowed at all.
correct.
Okay, well then let's
No,
start
that's
at
not
conception.
That's not entirely correct. But
Okay.
99% of cases.
Yeah, I'm sure you agree with me at least that there are cases where it's necessary, where it's literally not even a viable fetus and will kill the mother. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, then we can skip that whole, because I'm not going to try to like get a gotcha on that. So,
Yeah,
so we can skip that.
Yeah.
But like I said, at 18 weeks, it has all of its neural connections. It can think, feel, whatever. But that's
can
not
you
what we're
feel
talking
it
about.
now
We're
or
talking
after
about
birth?
at conception.
Well, you were talking about at birth. So let's bring it. Let's do a little compromise. What about at when they can feel?
Well, no. My position was clear from the beginning. It's not a person until it's detached. Now, here's what I'll say. Here's what I will say.
They don't even have the ability to
No,
feel or to.
Hold on. Here's what I will say. There are circumstances where it can be viable at 24, 25 weeks, whatever, and it can be detached and survive. And I do think that if that is possible without causing, a significant amount of damage or death to the mother, that we should do that. I do believe that. Sometimes that's simply not possible, though, and I still think that the mother should be allowed to abort.
Okay, so when can you not have an abortion?
When can you not?
Yeah.
I would say if having the child, really honestly never, but like there are, not never, always, you should always be allowed to, but I think that there are ethics boards within hospitals and within doctors' offices, and they make those decisions based on like ethics. But in my personal ethical opinion, if a fetus is attached to the mother, and hold on one second, I'm sorry, losing my train of thought. If a fetus is attached to the mother and is able to be taken out without causing harm to the mother and survive, then an abortion would be kind of pointless in that case. And honestly, you could make an argument that that's ethically unsound.
Okay, so only if you can basically birth, unnaturally birth the baby, then abortion isn't allowed, or it's still allowed but not suggested?
I personally morally disagree with terminating a fetus if it is viable to be born and there is no harm coming to the mother as a result of it. But the other side of that is, in order to even legislate that, you have to have government officials in the doctor's offices making those decisions with the woman and the doctor, and I just don't agree with that.
Government officials making decisions with, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, they're literally, like, I'm in Ohio, like, take that for instance. You know, there were, because of the government's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, we had a heartbeat law go into effect, I believe, that prevented a 10-year-old from getting an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean.
But what are you talking about? The politicians aren't going into the doctor's office with the women.
Yeah, they might as well be there.
Okay, so you're saying that politicians should have no say on abortion, is what you were saying.
Basically, yeah. I don't think
Okay.
that that's their jurisdiction. I think it's a medical issue. Kind of like how I feel with trans procedures.
So why is it at birth that it becomes a person?
That's just the, I mean, that's the point where it's officially detached from the mother, and it's, a little bit arbitrary, but it is the best and most useful, I would say practical, dividing line that we've come across. Kind of like how we came across 18, although I would argue it should be a little older, for age of consent, 21 for drinking alcohol. Really don't know where I stand on that. But, these are all arbitrary measures that we kind of implement to the best of our ability to be the most useful and practical.
Yeah, and for these measures, we don't have a scientific fact on when it should begin. We have the scientific fact of when human life begins.
Well,
You agree with that? You agree that it's a human life. When does that human life begin?
well, I think
Conception or when?
some people would argue that life begins when you first find love. But in a real sense, it is technically biologically human by its chromosomes, by its genetic makeup, whatever. It would be genetically classified as a human. But I just don't, what I consider a person is not a blob of cells that has no neural connections, that has no thought processes, that has no ability to feel or act or do anything. That's just
Right.
not a person to me.
That's not what I asked. You said we got the distinction that you don't think just because it's a human life doesn't mean it's a person, right?
Yeah.
Because you said a fetus was a human life at 9 months, but before it was born.
No, a fetus is a human life at the moment of conception. I do think that. It is biologically, genetically human, but it's not a person. It doesn't have...
Why don't we draw the line there?
Draw the line where?
At conception, when it becomes a human life.
Why? Because it's not, feasible. It's not a good thing to do. It causes...
feasible?
We've seen it cause suffering of people as young as 10 years old in Ohio. I just don't like it. I don't like it as a precedent. I don't like it. I don't like the idea that every single abortion that takes place has to be investigated just to make sure that, the tissue wasn't viable, right? I don't like that.
I think that's a pretty good idea to make if you think it's from my point of view, I think it's a human life just as much as I am a human life. So I think when killed, it should be investigated. Right?
No, that's so much money. What you want to increase our taxes for that?
That's the whole point of having a criminal department is to investigate criminal things.
Yeah, but I just don't consider it criminal to terminate a fetus.
To terminate a human life.
Well, it's a human life, quote unquote. It's not a person.
Well, what's the quote unquote for? You said it was a human life.
Yes, but not colloquially. We say human life to mean a person, colloquially. But in this conversation, I'm using the terms differently because we need to have those distinctions. Because biologically, yes, it is a human, but I don't consider it a person. So I said quote unquote human life for that reason.
Right, and it has to be born in order to have rights.
Yes.
So they don't call them person rights; they're called human rights.
That is correct. Colloquially, we do call them human rights.
They're humans, like you said, so they should have human rights.
I don't like playing I don't like playing semantic games. Like, I feel like I'm being pretty
semantic
clear
means
here.
semantic means meaning. So I do like to play those games because meaning is important.
Okay.
You said it is a human life. Therefore,
yeah, but
okay.
Then I advocate for changing the name to person rights.
Person rights.
Yep.
Which you have to be born in order to have.
Yep.
For what reason?
Because that's the best way to do it. That hurts the least amount of people and gives us the most freedom to do what we want.
As in, right? Get the most freedom to do what you want.
Yeah.
While killing people. That is freedom.
It's not a person, though. I've told you that. I don't believe it's a person.
Right, but you haven't told me why.
I think I did. It's because it's biologically dependent on another human being for sustenance.
So is a newborn.
Yes, but not directly attached to somebody. The mother can literally give it up for adoption.
Right, but it is necessary for the newborn to have human life.
That is correct. That's what we have government assistance agencies for. If the mother is not able to take care of the child or dies during childbirth, and there's nobody else to take care of it, we should have government assistance agencies that help with that, yes.
So what it sounds like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you think it is a human, so you think it's a human life, but you think that the killing is justified.
I think that it is not a person. To say that I think it's a human life without including the fact that I think it's not a person with independent thoughts and feelings and capabilities that I consider a human life, quote unquote, that we say colloquially to have, is a mischaracterization of my position. I do not believe in the colloquial sense of killing human life. No, I don't believe in that. In this instance, technically, I do believe in that, but only because I don't believe it's a person, and I think it's important to include that because of the colloquialisms.
Okay, so you say person is when you were born, and person is when you get your human rights.
Yes.
So what about people who are not born? There are people who are not born.
What? I fail to understand what you mean. I don't think anybody appears out of the ether.
There are people who are like C-section. Like, do you have to go through the birth canal? Do you have to? What about a C-section?
I never specified that you have to go through the birth canal. No.
You said you had to be birthed. There are people.
You have to be born. Yes.
Okay.
We consider C-sections to be births.
It just, to me, it sounds like you just made up a term, person, because from all my life,
I did not make up that term, I assure you.
Right, but person and human are the same word. Not the same word, they're the same meaning.
No, they're not. Not the way that I'm using them. If you would like to use them interchangeably, that's your deal, but I feel like it's important for my definitions and my worldview to have a different meaning for those, and I feel like it's more useful.
And so you said you become a person when you're born. And I asked why, and you said because sorry, what did you say?
I said it provides the most, I would say, to put it simply, it provides the most utility. I don't think that a fetus before a certain point has anything that we can even use to consider its thoughts on the matter, because it doesn't have thoughts, it doesn't have feelings, it's head empty, no thoughts. It's just a bundle of cells, a shapeless bundle of cells with nothing in it. And why would I even give that more consideration than a tumor? Huh?
Most of what you just said was false. It is not shapeless.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean by just a bundle of cells.
Effectively shapeless.
Effectively shapeless.
Yes.
Which means not shapeless.
Okay, you got me there.
Words have meaning.
I know that words have meaning. That is a thing that they do.
Yes. So you should use them appropriately.
I am very sorry if you're triggered by the things that I said.
They're not just a bundle of cells any more than I'm just a bundle of cells.
Well, I would say that yours is a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more shapely. I did see that in the Discord chat you were saying you're a personal trainer, and I don't shit on my fat personal trainers. I know they're out there, but usually they're a little bit more shapely.
I can assure you,
than a
I'm
bundle
pretty shapely.
Okay, well that's good. I'm happy for you.
I don't know how we got onto that.
Sorry. Yeah, you were talking about shapeless bundles of cells and whatever. And I get that it's not literally shapeless, okay? I know. It's just not human shaped.
It is. That's exactly its shape. It's in a
definitely.
it's in
Listen,
fetal
a
position.
single-celled organism is not human shaped in my mind.
That is correct. Most fetuses are not single-celled organisms. So
Every fetus, in fact, 100% of them start as that, and that's where you're arguing life begins. So I would say yes, they are single-celled organisms.
I said most of them aren't that right now. All humans start.
I guess not at the moment, but 100% of them were. And you're arguing that that single-celled organism deserves rights. By the way.
Yes.
Yes.
Because
so
that is the only logical, scientific label for when life begins. And when life begins.
No, we've established this. Life begins at the life began a billion years ago, and it continues in the sperm, and then that goes to.
Okay, we both know we're not talking about that. We're not talking about evolution. Right?
Sorry, I forgot. Listen, words have meaning. Okay, just remember that, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're not talking about when. We're talking about when a human life begins. We're not talking about when all of human life begins.
Okay, human life. Okay, see, that's why words are important. But no, I understand that technically biological human life begins at conception. I get that. Okay, I'm not arguing that. A personhood does not begin until birth.
And that's just you're just saying that you have no reason for that.
What is your reason for taking something that has effectively no feeling, no thoughts, no nothing, and just saying you have more rights than the mother does now?
Nope, it's the same rights.
No, it's not.
It is. You cannot.
No, the mother has no rights. The mother has no right to attach themselves to somebody else for sustenance. They can't do that. 99%
of the time, they chose to.
I don't care if they chose to.
So that's like this is essentially what that's doing. It's like you take someone out on your boat. And you say, okay, now I don't want you on my boat anymore, get off. And you throw them in the ocean. And you go, well, I didn't kill them, they're just not viable in the ocean. You can't have sex.
Well, no, you killed somebody in that instance. Yeah, it's a little different than abortion.
Bear with me on the analogy.
Okay.
It's the exact same premise.
No,
most abortions, there's like a 0.1% or 1% abortions are rape, right?
Okay.
All the other ones are consensual. Everyone knowing.
When you say all the other ones, you mean sexual encounters?
Yes. I mean abortion. So it's the same thing as inviting someone onto your boat, then out in the ocean kicking them off when they can't survive.
Not really. You'd have to substantiate that a single-celled organism is the same as a full, like should have like the same consideration that like an adult would. Like if I take a petri dish with a couple of stem cells,
human life.
If I take a petri dish full of stem cells with a viable human embryo and throw it into the ocean, nobody's going to say anything, nor should they. There's nothing there.
No one would say anything because they wouldn't know. Yeah, I would call that murder.
Cells in a petri dish?
A human life?
Yeah. I mean, it technically is a human life, but it's not a person. Well, listen, we've been over the colloquialisms. I'm telling you, I consider I do not consider an embryo to be a person.
Right, but it is a human life, and I'm saying human life is what matters.
I'm saying that personhood is what matters.
You have not given me a reason why birth matters.
Why
when
birth?
The scientific
I told you why does it begin. Why does a 20-year-old in 364 days not have the right to drink, but a 21-year-old does?
That's arbitrary and doesn't
exactly.
Matter. And there's no scientific fact on when someone should be allowed to drink.
Yes, but based on the best scientific... Hold on, you're actually wrong. Based on the best scientific evidence that we have, 21 is the age where we decided there's not going to be quite as much brain development damage because their brain's still developing quite significantly at the age of 18. We've lately found that it's still developing until the age of 25, so they might go up on the age of... the alcohol age. But for right now, 21 is where it's at, and that's the reason. So there is scientific backing
But
for that.
we don't have a scientific fact of when you should start drinking. We have a scientific fact.
Wait,
of
yes,
when
we
human life
literally
begins.
do. The whole reason that we don't let kids drink is because it will hurt them in development. That's a scientific reason.
I'm talking about like when we have a pinpoint of when human life begins. Drinking
Yeah, and we have a
doesn't
pinpoint
matter.
for when age of alcohol begins.
Age of alcohol,
Yeah.
being able to drink alcohol.
Yeah, being able to drink alcohol. We have a pinpoint.
Scientifically.
Midnight on birthday number 21.
Right, that's just a societal norm. That has nothing to do
Yeah,
with
but we can
science.
still pinpoint it.
Okay, I'm talking about science. You pinpoint scientifically exactly where life begins.
Exactly where light. Okay, are we really gonna go here again?
Conception.
Words have meaning, my
Exactly
friend.
when human
You
life
mean
begins.
human life. Life began billions of
Human
years ago, and it never stopped.
You got me.
Yep.
Human life. When does human life begin? We both agree. Conception. And
Yep.
that is why a fetus matters just as much as someone who's born already. You have not given me a single reason.
I've given
why
you plenty.
human
I've
life-
said that it's not conscious, it can't feel, it can't think. Those are all
But
valid
that's not
reasons,
true.
I think. They
That's not true. Those are false.
At a single-celled organism, I'm pretty sure it has not developed the neural connections
not
required.
a single,
But you're arguing for life at consent. That's when it's considered a human life to you.
Right now, I'm just arguing before birth.
No, but your premise, your belief, is that life begins at conception at the single-celled organism.
Yes.
That's your belief. So back that up. Why should I care as much about a single-celled organism as I care about a full-grown adult?
Because it is just a stage of human life. It is just as much a human as a 2-celled human organism, or a 15-celled human organism, or a 13 trillion celled human organism.
By what definition?
By the definition of human life that we
Okay,
both
but
agree on.
you just begged the question. By what definition is it a human life?
By what definition of human life? It has its own chromosomes,
Okay.
own unique human chromosomes.
Are tumors human life?
If left, what's that?
Are tumors human life?
No, they're not.
Why not?
Because they do not meet those qualifications. They don't.
Wait,
tumor
wait,
does not
wait.
turn. A tumor
It
does
met
not-
your qualifications. It has its own unique DNA. And it has 46, 40,
a kid- a
42
kidney is
chromosomes.
not, a kidney is not human life, either.
What isn't?
A kidney.
No, but it doesn't have its own unique DNA. But a tumor does.
A kidney has its own unique DNA.
Well, no, it actually all has the
Every
same
cell in the
DNA.
body
It's,
has its-
hold
has
on,
its own
wait,
DNA.
you don't know how DNA works, do you? All your DNA is exactly the same. It's just
I know,
that
I
it gets
mean,
represented
it's-
differently in different
Right.
parts of your body.
I know that. I'm saying what I'm
Okay.
saying is like a kidney has your DNA. That doesn't make it a human life. It's DNA
No,
is
a
not the
kidney
only-
does not
is
have
the only
DNA.
qualification.
Hold on. A kidney does not have DNA that is unique to the rest of your body.
I know,
Okay.
but it has your DNA.
It has your DNA, but
Yeah,
a
I know.
cancer cell does not. So that's my
Well,
argument
cancer-
is why do we not
cancer
consider that a
isn't
human life?
The same way that a buffalo isn't a human.
No.
It has its own DNA, but that's not the qualification.
Yeah, but it
That's
does.
not
But
the
a
only
cancer cell
qualification.
does have 42 chromosomes, or 46 chromosomes. Sorry.
That's fine.
broken.
It's not a human
Why not?
because
It
it doesn't
seems to
meet
meet
the
your
other
definitions.
qualifications. It doesn't meet the other qualifications.
Such as
Being a human.
you're begging the question again.
I'll be more. What's that?
You're begging the question again.
I'll be more specific. Sorry, that was a little sarcastic.
Or is it begging the question or circular argument? It's one of the two. But anyway.
So. Hello?
Hello, you there?
Yeah.
All right. So you were saying I was waiting. I thought you were thinking. So you were saying because my argument was that a cancer cell, by your definition, is a human life. Can you combat that?
Yeah. They don't. I'm unaware if they have their own unique human DNA.
It is a mutation,
I mean,
so it does have its unique DNA, yes.
Well, like an onion has its own DNA.
Yes, but it does not have 46 chromosomes, as a cancer cell does.
And they're all ATGC?
Yes. It is a human cell that is mutated and has bypassed the human immune system for, or I should say the cellular mechanism for self-destruction. So it becomes a cancer cell, and then it, you know, if it pops up in the wrong spot, it can proliferate and go to different, and metastasize, etc. But it is 46 chromosomes. It does have its own unique DNA because it's a mutation, and it does grow and multiply. So, you know, I would call that a human by your definition.
Right, but it's a different not species, but it's a different animal. It's a different animal, like a mushroom or a fungus.
No, it's not. Why? Why are you calling it that? It has 46 chromosomes.
Does it does it reproduce into a human?
No, but it does replicate.
Are they?
Well, hold on.
are
By your definition, it does, because it already is a human.
No. Does it? Does it go through the stages of life?
Why does that matter?
Is it? Was that?
It's alive, is it not? I would call that a stage of life.
Cancer is alive. So is your kidney.
Yes, but we're going off of your definition of why I should consider a single-celled zygote a human life.
It's not a member of the same species.
Yes, it is. Chromosomally, it is.
Species doesn't go off of chromosomes.
Okay, well, then
it's not the same. It's not the same species as a human. When you have like the kingdom, phylum, whatever, it doesn't fall under any of those as the same as a human. Maybe under animal. I don't know if a cancer is an animal, but it doesn't.
A cancer really isn't anything. It's just a cancer. It's, you know, it's a mutation of your body cells. So I personally do not consider it a human, but your definition of human life is its own unique DNA that is, well, you know what? I'll let you define it again. Why should I care? We'll drop that for a minute. Why should I care that a single-celled zygote is a human life worth protecting?
Because any human life, any innocent human life is a human life worth protecting.
Okay, but why? Give me a reason why I should consider it a human life, like the way you're defining it.
You do.
I personally do, but the way you're defining it, aka a person, why should I consider it a person?
Okay, let's see if I can. It has XX or XY chromosomes. It has 40. The rule being 46. Obviously, there's people with like Down syndrome.
I'm not going to catch you out on that. Rule.
Right. A bipedal homogeneous. I don't know how to go up the chain of kingdom phylum. Here it is. Primate genus Homo, especially member of the species Homo sapiens, distinguished. Yeah.
Okay, what makes it a member of that species?
That's what it's been classified as. That's
right,
that can't be answered non-redundantly.
Well, there are characteristics of, generalized characteristics of humans that make them the species they are. They're not universally shared, but we do have generalities. And typically, we consider something the same species when they can reproduce with each other, when they have very similar attributes, etc. Like it's arbitrary. You're correct.
So can a cancer reproduce with another human?
No, but it can reproduce
as if it was human.
It can reproduce. It just does so in a different way.
Asexually.
But an embryo can't do that either. Like an embryo literally reproduces the same way that a cancer cell does.
No, it's not reproducing.
Wait, yes, the cells are reproducing, yes.
Okay, that's not the same thing as reproduction.
No, it's not sexual reproduction, but it is it's cellular division. What is it called? Shit, I can't remember.
Osmosis.
No, that's something else. That's movement of water. I can't remember, but you understand my point.
Yeah. Mitosis, I think is what it's called.
You. That's what it is. Mitosis.
Right. That's different than human reproduction.
Yes, it's different than sexual reproduction. Sure.
Right, which cancer is not.
But it can't sexually reproduce yet.
Will it be able to?
Not necessarily. 50% of zygotes go down the tubes, like they go down the drain.
Right, but here we have like the what is the natural process is that it will reproduce, is that it will live.
The natural process is half of them go on to live and half of them don't, at least from the zygote form. If you want to go even more specifically, many more of them don't go on to live for various reasons that are natural, completely natural.
Can you give me a reason why human life, a zygote does not have the same rights as a birthed human?
Yeah, because it can't feel, it can't, breathe, it can't, let me think, what else? It can't, experience.
Human rights?
Huh? Oh, also, it's literally biologically attached to the mother, which is another thing I keep harping on, but...
Still don't know why that matters.
Because the mother is having something attached to it, another organism attached to it, without her consent.
She more than likely consented to it.
She consented to sex. She did not consent to having something attached to her. What if the condom broke?
Right, but she knew that was a possibility.
When you get into the car, do you consent to having a car accident?
No, but the purpose of getting into a car is not having a car accident. The purpose of sex is to reproduce.
Not necessarily.
Biologically.
Have you ever had sex?
No.
No? Okay. When you do have sex, do you plan to have a child every time you have sex?
Yes.
That's boring, man. You should try some other stuff. You ever masturbated?
No. Well, I try not to.
Well, okay then. But you don't. But people don't masturbate.
I fail to see how that's on topic.
Well, it is on topic because you're saying the whole point of of sex is to reproduce. So like,
yeah.
If you're masturbating, if you're jerking one off, you're blasting a big white whale, then you're not reproducing. You're using your body parts to do something that is not quote unquote meant for.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So you say that you're against masturbation, like ethically. I just
morally,
don't agree with that.
Ethically.
Morally?
Morally, not ethically.
Morally? Okay. To be honest, I'd have to really think about the difference there, but between morally and ethically. But anyway, I don't agree. Like, I don't think that it's hurting anybody or anything to jerk off. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why we wouldn't.
I didn't say that.
Wait, you said that morally you're against jerking off.
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Because I'm Catholic.
Okay, do you have another reason, or is it just dogmatic belief?
I mean, go to the basic. God told me not to.
Well, I guess I'm built different. I don't do things just because I'm told to do them. I need a reason.
Well, when the created universe says to do something, you usually want to do it.
Say that again.
I said when the created universe tells you to do something, you usually want to do it.
I'm just not cucked like that, I guess.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Anyway, off topic.
Sure.
Still haven't given me a reason. You keep saying when they can, they don't have any cognitive function.
Yes.
What about when they do have cognitive function?
Well, we've been over that. I think that if you can remove a fetus without bringing harm to the mother, that you should do that. But at the same time,
that's not what we talked about. You said you can't kill it because it doesn't have cognitive function. Therefore, when it has cognitive function, you can't kill it.
No, I didn't say you can't kill it. We've agreed that it is a human life at conception. I just don't think it's a person. So yes, you can kill a sperm cell. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, you can kill it because I do believe that it's alive, and I do believe that it is biologically, by its chromosomes, a human.
The reasons that you said you could kill it was that it could not think. My question is,
hold on, you're wrong. You're mischaracterizing my argument. The reason I said you can kill it is because it is biologically dependent upon the mother. It is a parasite that she did not consent to have putting there.
You said that too.
Right. They did not consent to have that attached to their body. So I am fine with removing it by whatever means necessary.
You said both. Well, what about someone who, when this is more common than people who get raped and then have an abortion. What about people who plan to have a child and then kill it?
Hold on. I'm confused what you mean. They plan to have a child and then what?
They didn't have an abortion. They changed their mind.
They changed their mind? I mean, it's still... I mean, they did consent to having it put there, sure. But now they've removed their consent.
And so you can kill it. So it's the same thing as the boat analogy that I gave.
I do believe that consent can be revoked, yes.
So you're going to invite someone on a boat and then revoke your consent
is not your body.
And kill them.
Your boat is not your body.
It's your property. Your body.
I mean, I consider my body to be a bit more than property. I would sooner give up my property than my body. I think my left arm is a bit more important to me than like my computer. Not by much, but it is.
But it's still yours to consent someone's use of a boat or a computer. You can say you can get on my
but I think there's varying levels of consent there. Like, it's not literally attached to your body. I don't think it's bodily autonomy.
It's yours.
I don't think it's bodily autonomy to have a right to my computer. I do think it's bodily autonomy to have a right to keep my arm.
But not a right to live.
Hold on. No, that is a bodily autonomy. A right to live, yes.
Which is, you have to be born in order to have a right to live?
Yes, a fetus does not have bodily autonomy by definition. They're not autonomous.
Well, who is?
The person who's pregnant, presumably.
What do you mean by autonomous?
They are capable of... They're an independent biological body that is capable of, I guess, you know, for lack of better terms, living, like you know, communicating with their environment, making choices and such. It's a little tricky definition to get on, but
So not someone in a vegetable state.
I mean, there are real ethical arguments for why they are not considered people, you know. And like, if somebody is literally an unfeeling, unthinking.
What about someone who's in a coma and you know they'll wake up in 9 months? Can you rip them off life support if they want to live?
Can you rip them off life support if they want to live? Well, if you know if you have knowledge that they will be awake in 9 months, that doesn't make them a vegetable.
No, they are as of the moment a vegetable.
Well, by that same definition, so is somebody under anesthetics, and I just don't think that you can put somebody under anesthetics and then kill them. I think that's a bad precedent to set.
I also agree, but I wouldn't think that much different than killing an 8-month-old fetus.
Yeah, but a fetus is not biologically... A fetus is biologically attached to another person, and a person on life support is not. If we could put fetus... Listen, if you want to be the guy... If you want to be the guy that invents life support for embryos and fetuses, I'm all about it, man. Like, go for it. But, like, we just don't have that yet.
That's not what we're talking about. And
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about bodily autonomy and the right to preserve your own body. Like, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. A better comparison. Okay, I'm going to go with your logic there, but I'm going to use a better version of it. Ready? So, let's say that you're in a coma, and you know that you will wake up in 9 months. Or rather, people like the doctors know that. But you are also attached to somebody else, and you depend on them for life. Do they have the right to detach you, even if it will kill you?
It doesn't exist. You just made up an
wait. It doesn't matter if it doesn't exist. It
kind of matters if it exists or not.
Well, yes, it does. Or no, it doesn't. Not in this instance.
They don't have the right.
We're talking about This is how you get to the root of your ethics, right? Like the trolley problem. You know, we debate bros love talking about the trolley problem. Nobody's ever fucking tied down to a railroad track, and then 5 people are tied to another railroad track, and then you have to decide whether to pull the lever or not. But we still talk about it. I think it's important.
I never brought up the trolley.
You did not, but people talk about it in ethical debates, and I think that's a good discussion to have. I think that helps us determine the limits.
That's something that's actually possible of happening, while your hypothetical was not, and that's how you know it's not.
I guess it's technically possible, sure, but I don't think that it has ever happened, and I don't think that it ever will.
And I'm here to profit off it.
Right, that's fine, but it's something that's like me bringing up aliens in a hypothetical. Like, well,
okay,
I don't know.
So 100 years ago, 100 years ago, we didn't have computers, but like, it was still like, eventually it would be possible to get on Twitter and say the N-word. So like, just because, like, I don't know. Like, I even 100 years ago, like, if you were to somehow to be able to time travel back to then, I would still argue that, yeah, if you know, 100 years from now, we were to somehow invent some crazy, wacky thing called the internet and you could say the N-word, then yeah, that'd be wrong. But just because it's not possible doesn't mean that we shouldn't discuss it. It helps us determine the limits of our ethics and morals.
I've got to hand it to you. You sidestepped into oblivion. I don't even know where we are anymore.
We're at the point where I asked you a hypothetical. I said, you are in a coma. And I declined the premise. It's not, wait, this is more accurate if you're discussing, you know, whether or not somebody has the right to live when they're in a vegetable-like state and will wake up in 9 months. No, they are biologically dependent.
Do they have rights at all?
Do they have rights at all?
I don't think a fetus has rights at all. Because it can't think, it can't feel, yada yada, which isn't true most of the time.
I think a zygote definitely does not. I think an embryo definitely does not. I think a fetus has certain ethical considerations based upon the fact that at about 24 weeks or whatever it is, maybe 18, I don't know, to be generous, it begins to have neural functions. I think that is when you can start considering its ethical rights, yes. And doctors do. They do have those discussions in the room, and they decide, like, listen, you know, if the woman wants to give up, you know, if the woman, let's say that like the woman gets divorced or something and can't afford the baby anymore, and you know the dad, or maybe the husband dies, you know, and the mom says, I just can't do this anymore. So you know, she goes in, she's 19 months pregnant, and or months, I keep saying months, weeks. She's 19 weeks pregnant, and the doctors are like, here's the deal, like, yeah, your baby can technically like it has the beginnings of feeling, but we can't save it if we were to extract it. We can try, but we can't. So, in all likelihood, it will die if we do this. I still think that the woman, by virtue of bodily autonomy, has the right to decide to have that detached. It is her body.
It's not her body.
Yes, it is. The fetus is attached to her body.
It's a separate human. You agree it's a separate human.
It is separate, but it is also attached to her body. So, it's technically not separate.
It is attached. It's not her body.
It's attached to her body, and she has the right to have it removed.
How can it be her body if it's attached to her body? It's
her own. Okay, it's okay. You can make the same argument about a tapeworm.
Right, but a tapeworm isn't human.
But it's attached to her.
Right, right. It's attached to her. She can get rid of it because it's not her body.
Yeah. Should she be allowed to get rid of the tapeworm?
Human fetus is not the body of its mother. Does the
okay,
mother
but when I say it's her body, what I mean is the fetus is attached to her body. I'm not saying the fetus is her. I'm saying the fetus is attached to her body. Therefore, it's her body and her choice what she does with it.
You can say that you didn't mean to say that, but it's exactly what you said.
When I say it's her body, that's what I meant. I stand by the statement, it's her body, and I clarified what I meant. At no point did I say the fetus is the woman's body.
You said it's her body.
I said it's her body.
It's her body.
That the fetus is attached to. You know what? Fine, I did say that. You win, buddy. Now I'm saying that the fetus is attached to her body. Okay, can we agree on that? The fetus is attached to her body. Okay, there you go.
It is.
That's what I meant. Got it? Okay, good. We're all on the same page. Now, what I'm saying is the fetus is attached to her body. And that makes it her choice what to do with it.
Because it's attached to her body.
Yes.
So this is a completely different argument than what you were talking about before.
No, it's not.
It is. Before you were saying it can't feel, can't do any of that. So
yeah, I mean that is part of it. That's part of it. But hold on. I did say there's still an ethical consideration to be made once it has thoughts and feelings. But I don't think that's up to. I don't think that's up to bureaucrats to decide.
I don't think it's up to anyone to decide.
It's up to the mother and the doctors.
So there is the only ethical consideration. Ethical consideration cannot be subjective. It's objective.
So
otherwise, it's not ethical.
The only way that we can keep doctors and mothers from having abortions is by imposing laws that would effectively put the government inside of the doctor's office. And I just don't like that. I like a hands-off approach with the government.
The only way to
call me a small government leftist, okay?
Police officers on the corner street. Yeah, you have to have laws in order to make it illegal.
Yeah, but I you know.
But you're saying because it would be too much effort to stop killing people that we're just not going to do it.
Again, I don't consider it a person, so we're not killing people. Words have meanings.
You considered it ethically ambiguous.
Yes, but I also said that it's not up to government bureaucrats to decide that. We have a lot of laws and lack thereof that are ethically ambiguous, that we leave up to professionals to decide.
Like what?
Mortuaries. Great example. What rights do dead people have? You know, do they have the rights to a proper burial? Do they have the right to be buried the way that they want to be released from life the way that they want to, with dignity and honor? I think so.
That's not right. There's laws on that, just like there should be laws on not killing someone.
Yes, but there's also but again, you're saying someone, and I don't think that it's a person. When I say it's ethically, what did I say? Ethically arbitrary?
No, quite questionable is what you said.
Ethically
arbitrary means something.
I don't think I said the word questionable. I said it's like ethically up in the air or something. But like when I said that, what I mean is like it's a dead body. There's not a person in there, etc. So like in terms of like the severity of any crime that you commit against a corpse, you know, I don't think that it would be as severe as committing it against the person if they were alive. But you know that's what makes it like an ethical gray area, right? Like, how serious is it if somebody has sex with a corpse without their consent? Like, I don't think it's as serious as having it with a live person, but I still think that there's a very serious ethical consideration there nonetheless with the rights of that corpse, you know?
You can't make right, but you made the distinction that it's alive, so you can't say it's like dealing with someone who's dead.
Well, it's not exactly the same. That's how comparisons work, but it's
exactly the opposite.
Listen, I know that to your caveman brain it feels like it's the opposite because we're talking about alive versus dead, but if it were the opposite, I would be talking about something like a rock.
Alive versus dead is about as opposite as it gets.
And a rock is in fact dead, and it was never a person at all. So I think that's more accurate when we say opposite. A corpse still has ethical considerations. Do you agree with that?
What is ethically ambiguous about killing a 6 or 18-week, whatever we said, it doesn't matter the week, a fetus that is able to feel and think?
It's ethically ambiguous because it's attached to the mother's body and she has revoked consent.
But why does it matter that not that part, but the like what's ambiguous about it? Is she allowed to kill it, or is she not allowed to?
It's ambiguous because, yes, we can recognize that fetus now is able to feel and to, move around a little bit. And it's a little bit closer to something that we would consider, to be closer to the human experience, right? So that's what makes it an ethical quandary. And I agree that it can be a little ethically gray. But for all intents and purposes, we need to keep abortion legal up until the point of birth so that doctors can make those considerations with the mothers. We should not have government bureaucrats in the office there to make that decision for them. Hospitals have ethics boards for a reason. I trust them more than I trust politicians. But if you trust politicians, that's on you.
No, I don't trust politicians.
Oh, well, then
I also
great.
don't
We
trust
agree.
people who kill babies.
Well, then we agree. We don't trust politicians in the doctor's office. Good.
That's like saying, "Oh, I don't trust politicians to make crimes against murder." Actually, that's exactly what it's saying.
Well,
you just have to focus on like, is it wrong or is it right? You said it's ambiguous, which means that
it's nuanced.
In order for it to be ambiguous, there has to be a point where it is not allowed.
You are
Otherwise,
arguing.
it's not ambiguous.
The point. I don't think that in a legal framework it should be allowed or not allowed. Well, it should be allowed, I should say. It should be allowed in a legal framework, okay? Regardless.
You should keep politicians out of doctors' offices.
Yes. And the way that you keep them out is by keeping it legal.
But then that's keeping them in, that's just keeping them on your side.
No.
Yes.
Well, then what would be keeping them out, my man?
I don't think you should keep them out.
What I'm saying is the way that you keep them out is you let the doctors make those decisions. That's how you keep them out.
Doctors shouldn't dictate the law.
No, I'm not saying they should dictate the law, but they should definitely listen. They should definitely dictate biological choices, like medical choices, for sure. I would much prefer that.
So if a doctor says no, you can't get an abortion, you would stand with that?
If a doctor has an ethical consideration for why somebody should not be allowed to, kill the fetus inside of them, like say it's like at 30 weeks and the mom comes in and she's like, I want to kill it. I'm ready to kill it. Then yeah, the doctor might be like, listen, we can extract it with minimal damage to your body. I don't think that it's ethically sound to end this life as it is. And the mother's just like, listen, I got bills to pay. I ain't trying to, you do all this. And they, I think that you can make an ethical argument for why that would be considered wrong.
Money over killing it.
Huh?
So money over killing it. Or money over keeping it.
No. I'm saying the mother still has the right at that point for bodily autonomy and to extract it, like get it off of her. But if it will do like the same amount of damage essentially to kill it as it would be to give birth to it, then yeah, you can make a moral argument that it would be wrong to kill it. Yes.
The fetus didn't choose to be there.
Correct.
More likely than not, the mother chose it to be there in one way or another, whether directly or indirectly.
I mean, the mother certainly could have chosen it, but you can also remove consent. And I think that any point that the mother wants to remove consent, you get rid of the fetus. You yeetus the fetus.
You can remove consent even if it kills.
Even if it's killed, yeah. But like I said, I am in favor, if it's like at 30 weeks, to extract it without killing it, if that can be done without critical damage to the mother's body. But I think, again,
what if the mother
that's
want
not
that?
my decision to make. That's not any bureaucrat's decision to make. That's up to the doctors.
The doctors, who are moral geniuses. No, all they do is, of course, they're going to offer whatever makes them more money.
Doctors literally take moral ethics class, so...
That's fine. I've met plenty. I've seen plenty of evil doctors.
I'm not saying that they're all ethical bastions. There are certainly dickhole doctors. We know that. But
So shouldn't we have a law against them
I do think
doing
in terms
something
of
that's
medicine,
immoral?
doctors have a much better bearing on what's ethical in medicine than a bureaucrat does.
It's not medicine, and we've already agreed that it's
It
human
is
life.
medicine. Wait, it's literally medicine. Yes. That is
The question isn't medicine. That's not the question. Everyone knows what's going on.
Hold on. Explain yourself. What?
Everyone knows what's going on. I mean, at least in this conversation, we know it's a human life, and we know it's killing a human life. There's no medical question. It's all moral. The doctor shouldn't have any decision.
It's a medical procedure. Abortion's a medical procedure. That's what I mean by it's medical in nature.
By something being a medical procedure is usually trying to save life, not end it. It's like calling an execution a medical procedure.
I mean, we have done medically induced executions before.
You mean assisted suicide?
Yeah, that's medical.
That's
It's also
not an execution.
cosmetic surgeries also exist. That's not saving lives always. It can, but not always, not usually. So I mean, it's not always about saving a life.
Dentists don't save lives either, but I consider them, a doctor of sorts.
Yes, so it's a mischaracterization.
Taking life is not doctorial.
What we consider medical in nature is somewhat arbitrary, but it is. We have generalities that exist to kind of define the premise.
Right, and generally, medicine is saving lives or attempting to make.
Not
life
even
better.
close. Most medicine is not about saving somebody's life.
Or
If
trying
you're
to make
talking
it better.
about, like,
It doesn't
generally.
fall into- it doesn't fall into that category.
Saving a life does fall into the category, but like, you can save somebody's life and it doesn't have to be medical, and you can do something medical without saving somebody's life. If you save somebody from falling off a cliff, I wouldn't call you a doctor just because you saved somebody's life.
It has no bearing on what I just said.
Yes, it does. You said medicine is all about saving somebody's life, and I'm saying not really. Like, sometimes it can.
I said
But-
medicine is about saving lives or improving lives.
Both.
Not everything that saves a life is medical. But most
Correct.
things that are medical.
But that's what I'm telling you.
are
Like, it can
saving
be
or
about improving
improving
life, which, abortions certainly do improve life in most
no,
circumstances.
it takes them.
It
it kills
improves the mother's life for sure.
Well, that's actually not true. The suicide rate among women who have abortions or an attempted suicide rate is much higher than women with children.
Why is
In
that?
fact, women with children, what's that?
Why is that?
Why is that? Because they're doing something unnatural. They're killing their child.
Do you have any studies to show that?
Yeah.
No. I'm saying studies that show that the reasoning for. I believe your statistic. I'm questioning your reasoning.
What's that?
I believe your statistic. I'm questioning your reasoning.
Reasoning is pretty clear. They die from. They kill themselves.
What are you basing it off of?
What am I basing what off of?
Your reasoning. Like, we both agree that statistic exists and is real. What are you basing your reasoning for? Like, oh, it's a natural process, therefore, et cetera, et cetera. Like, where is that reasoning coming from?
It's multifounded. One, there is a postpartum depression that people get, whether they have an abortion or not.
Yes.
But it's only increased. That's only increased by a child that you don't have. I mean, you look at people who have miscarriages, and women who have miscarriages have a much higher suicide rate too, but not nearly as high as abortion.
Yes. Why is that?
Right. So you're going through postpartum depression. The women are. What comforts them, and this isn't me. This is what women have said. This is what women say. What comforts them is the child. Like, they have a child. They're depressed because there's a lot of hormones.
If that's the case, you just said women who have miscarriages also have lower depression rates than women who get abortions. Is that correct?
Yes, but they have higher than women who have.
So then clearly the baby being a comfort is not the only factor at play here.
No, that proves it.
No, that disproves what you just said. If you have a miscarriage,
they don't have the child to comfort them, because that's what they.
Yeah, but you said no, they don't have the child to comfort them. But you're saying that the child to comfort them is what lowers depression rate for women who have postpartum depression.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is women who have miscarriages, as you said, have a lower suicide rate than women who have abortions. Is that correct?
Right, but it's higher. It's lower than that because they didn't kill their child. It's tragedy, not evil.
Okay, and now we're getting to the root of why I asked this question. Now we're getting to the
higher. They have higher.
See, but
suicide rate than women who have children.
Yes, and what I'm saying. No, you said. Hold on.
Higher than a healthy pregnancy.
Hold on. You said, in your words, they have a higher suicide rate because they killed their child, right?
Yes.
Okay. The social conditioning that we undergo with women to make them believe that they have killed their child is what is causing that increase in depression, is it not? Or in suicide rates? Why not?
The fact that they have.
But the fact that they believe that they have. A woman who doesn't believe that she did that is at a much lower chance of suicide, right?
Right, but that would be living outside of reality.
Sure, but we can both agree that that person would have a lower chance of suicide, right?
If they didn't kill their child?
No, if they believe they didn't kill their child.
I mean, that has nothing to do. Again, if someone who is suicidal has no bearing on reality, might not be a suicidal. Yeah, that has nothing to do.
Sure, you can call it whatever you want. You can characterize it potato. You can call it truth if you want, but if they don't believe that they literally murdered their child, they are at a lower rate of suicide. Correct? So it's the socialization of believing that you have killed your child.
If they don't kill their child, then they have a lower suicide rate. It has nothing to do with they believe.
Sorry if I said that wrong. I meant higher. If they believe that they killed their child, they have a higher suicide rate.
The suicide rate among women who have abortions is the same across the board, whether they think that they killed their child, whether they were pro-abortion.
Do you have any evidence to support that?
I mean, yeah, it's like womenhealth.org or something.
So womenshealth.org, can you pull up the article that literally says women who believe that they've killed their own child have the same suicide rate as women who don't believe that?
So it's not worded like that.
Okay,
the wording is whether they were pro-abortion or pro-life.
Okay.
Doesn't have any bearing, doesn't have any sway on whether they were more suicidal or more depressing. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying?
Does it say that?
Yes.
That's interesting. I'd have to look more into that.
So, whether you were avid, because there are people who are pro-life who get abortion, right?
Sure.
Their suicide and depression rate is the same, is marginally same as women who are pro-abortion who commit suicide.
MGH Center for Women's Mental Health. Abortion does not increase women's risk for suicide. This is the website that you're pulling info from?
What is it?
It's a here. I'll send it to you. It's a page that says abortion does not increase women's risk for suicide.
Well, no, that is not what I'm pulling from.
Which one were you pulling from? I'm sorry. You weren't pulling from womensmentalhealth.org?
.gov. I said .org by accident.
.gov?
Was. Let me, what did you send me?
I don't see a .gov.
1 second.
Okay.
I'm reading
kinda
what you sent me.
I'm kind of getting bored of this discussion, so I'll let you make your final points real quick after you find that source. But if you want to make your final points, we can move on to the other stuff.
Yeah, I think we came to a conclusion that we disagree with, but we both. I don't really understand. I think I do understand actually the distinction you made, but I think it's completely arbitrary and made up just for the purpose of the argument. The difference between human and person. But you say a person is. You say human rights begin right at birth, and I have to give it to you. You are consistent, but I would think consistently wrong. Being birthed doesn't have anything to do with rights. No reason to think that.
Okay.
But I do see your point. Like I do see where you're coming from. I mean.
Okay. I mean, I used to be pro-life as well, so I understand where you're coming from as well. I do. You know, this is all roads I've been down. But anyway, we can go ahead and move on to the stuff that actually brought you on here in the first place.
Yeah.
So you were in my YouTube comments section talking specifically about like trans people. Is that right?
I said I commented, "What is a woman?"
Ah, yes, the classic question. Matt Walsh fans will never know.
So, what is a stan?
Stan?
I saw that.
It's basically a fan. I think there's like I think it's an acronym for something, but Katie, do you know? Well, specifically like where it comes from.
Where it comes from, I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like a super fan, basically.
I mean, I'm a fan of Matt Walsh, but I'm a fan of a lot of people.
Fair enough. Most people who say "What is a woman?" I assume they've at least seen the documentary.
I actually haven't. I just.
Ah, well, that puts you a peg behind me, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see the need to. But
it's fine. I mean, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm a fan of Matt Walsh. I listen to him like once a week or whatever. But
sure.
So, but can you? I actually, because people have different answers to this question all the time. What is a woman?
Sure, it's a complicated definition, so I hope you're prepared for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. A woman is anyone who identifies as one.
Uh-huh.
You there?
Yeah.
So a woman is anyone who identifies as one.
Okay. Problem with that, you cannot using a word in its own definition. Kind of defeats the purpose of a definition.
Oh, well, what's the color red?
So, color red?
Yeah.
I don't know how you would define the color red. Let me look it up.
Why not? Words have meaning. Do you use the word red
That doesn't
without
mean
knowing
I know
what it
every
means?
word.
Huh?
That doesn't mean I know every word.
Well, surely you know the word red. I think even kindergartners can tell you the word red.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know how to define it.
Well, words do have meaning.
I didn't say they don't.
Okay. Does the word red have meaning?
It does.
Okay.
I can point to something.
I eagerly await
your
your explanation for the word red.
I can point to something and say that something is red or not.
But how do you know if it's red? What physical attribute of it can tell me that something's red?
It is the physical attribute.
Is it pepperoni red?
Yes.
Is a rose red?
Most of the time. I would think so. Depends.
It depends. Well,
Yeah.
in the colloquial definition of the
So
word
red,
rose.
red is a how would you describe red to a blind person?
To a blind person, you literally can't.
Right, because it's not in the realm of their reality. I guess their reality is for.
So you admit that there are certain words that we have to define things that we can't really, explain fully.
Yeah,
red is kind of just whatever we say red is.
A woman is an adult human female with XX chromosomes.
Well, I say that a woman is whatever we say a woman is.
Am I a woman?
If you want.
So it doesn't mean anything.
You're right, my friend. How perceptive you are. That's why I'm a gender abolitionist.
A gender? Well, me too. I think gender is a stupid term. I think all you need is sex. That's what sex are you?
Interesting.
Gender was a foolish term coined by was it John Money? I forget. I don't really care. I think gender is stupid.
I think so too, friend.
But we come to different conclusions. I think there's male and female sex.
Oh, I think there is too.
Okay.
I'm not under any illusions as to that.
So, okay. So there's only male and female.
When you're talking about the sexual bimodal distribution, there's male and female, but there's a bunch of stuff in between. It's a bimodal distribution.
So there's more than just male and female.
Technically, there are infinite points between the distribution, yes. But most people fall within what we would consider male.
Are you talking about a feminine man or a masculine woman?
Perchance, that's one way to look at it, but there are multiple meanings.
Those are still I can define what a woman is.
Yeah, you said it's
adult human female.
Yeah, what's a female?
A female is someone with XX chromosomes.
You know what Swire syndrome is?
Bipedal male or bipedal mammal. Not
you know what Swire syndrome is?
What is that?
Swire syndrome?
Never heard of it. Oh,
we're gonna have fun. Swire syndrome is XY chromosomes, and the person still develops a uterus and ovaries, and they grow up, biologically classified as a woman or as a female, I should say, and they only find out when typically they are infertile, and they only find out once they get genetically tested. Oh, you're actually XY. You have Swire syndrome. So they're one.
Yeah, sorry. No, they aren't.
They are. Oh, they're not. Wait, why not?
Because they have XY chromosomes.
But they have a vagina, they have the uterus, they have ovaries, they just...
Yeah, so, if someone's born without a leg, that doesn't break the rules. Humans are humans are bipedal.
But you just said a person with Swire syndrome is not a woman, is that correct?
They have XY chromosomes?
Yes.
The chromosomes of a man.
I suppose most men do have XY chromosomes, but so do women with Swire syndrome. I call them women personally. They prefer being called women. They grew up as women. They are known as women both to their parents and their doctors and everyone around them. But if you say they're men, I mean, I'm not one to argue that men can have vaginas and ovaries. I will certainly not argue that with you.
Swire syndrome?
Yes. SWIER.
So, notice it's a syndrome.
Yes.
It's wrong. Not that they're wrong as a person, but it's not supposed to be like that. Like Down syndrome.
Sure.
Right? They have a different number of chromosomes. That doesn't make them more or less human. Right?
Yes, correct.
Same way person born missing a leg isn't more or less human because humans are bipedal mammals.
Yes. Generally, yes.
It's an exception to the rule. But
sure.
you can still find out. I guess if it's that complicated. I've never heard of Swire syndrome, so I'll take your word for it.
Are trans people not an exception to the rule?
No.
Why not? I mean, they're by definition exceptions to the rule. They're 2% of the population.
What do you mean? So trans people covers a wide variety of people.
That's true.
Be more specific.
Trans people as a whole, somebody who identifies as transgender is 2% of the population at most. I think it's even less, but we'll say 2.
Right. Okay.
So that's pretty close to what I'd consider an exception.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're talking about exceptional cases,
what do you mean by trans? No, I don't know what you mean by trans person. Because
somebody who identifies as a gender different from that which they were assigned at birth. If you want to say I'm personally in favor of bringing back the term transsexual, because if we're going to distinguish sex from gender, it would be useful to us. But for right now, I think it's still considered a slur. So I
For the
wouldn't use
purpose
it.
of this conversation, when we
Sure.
say male or female, we can exclude gender, right?
Yes.
Because I think gender, like, if by gender you mean like someone's an alpha male, someone's a beta male, someone's more feminine, and that's gender. I mean, whatever. Then, like, okay, whatever. But that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
What's that?
I said okay.
So I believe there are two sexes. I've been saying gender my whole life, thinking that the two things were synonymous.
Most people do.
So that's right.
It happens to me
so
too. I'm not going to try to catch you out on that.
Okay, there are two sexes, male and female, right?
Yes.
One generally has XX chromosomes, a vagina, a uterus, breasts, a difference in bone density, and muscle mass, right?
Generally.
Not all women, not all men. And the men have a
Hashtag
penis,
not all men.
and they have balls and testes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say that male, female, yeah. There's nothing in between, as far as like solid, like a third sex.
But you just said there are not a third sex, but there's plenty in between when we're talking about like a spectrum, and I do think that sex exists on a spectrum.
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Sex exists on a spectrum.
Yeah, that's what a bimodal distribution would come into play.
So what genitalia does the people between male and female have?
So there are two main types of genitalia, and there are people, and there are characteristics associated with those. People with vaginas and other female genitalia they would have, body parts that would be considered more feminine, and then you have, or more female-like, I guess, and then you have people with balls and testes, testes and penor, that have generally more masculine characteristics about them, like facial hair, etc. And then you have people in between, like Ben Shapiro is very much closer to the female side of the spectrum than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he'd ever admit that, but, it's true.
So, again, it is kind of going back to the gender thing. It's you're more feminine or you're more masculine.
I mean, more or less, yeah. There's
But there's only
we're
two.
talking more about
feminine man.
We're talking more about like a
You're
biological
not a woman.
sense, though. So like your ability to grow facial hair would be like more of a sexually masculine trait, right? Like that's
So
that kind of stuff.
so we can agree that there are two sexes.
I mean, there's
more.
two sexes. There's two main sexes, and then there's a bimodal distribution that exists between them. Yes, like
that's
a
just-
spectrum, I
that's
should
just
say, with the bimodal
just like
distribution. Go ahead.
There are two biological sexes, though, right? XX and
There's
XX.
two primary biological sexes, yes, and they do dominate. But there are intersex people who have like different things going on with their genitalia. There are, I recognize that is a rarity, and that's why I explicitly say bimodal distribution. I think that is the most correct definition.
Right. So, there are two biological sexes with some people who have similarity or characteristics of the other, right?
I would say that's a fair, if not a bit oversimplified way of putting it. Yes.
Okay. I'm not right now. I'm trying to understand.
Okay, sure. I to be honest, I don't I'm not like somebody who studies this like super hard. I know like a few syndromes here and there for the sake of argumentation, but my main point is sex is a bimodal distribution. We have different things going on at different places in the spectrum. People take hormones. Like if you're a male-born person and you take feminizing hormones, you can develop breast tissue, and your penis will get smaller, etc. And vice versa, if you're born female and you take masculinizing hormones, you can grow facial hair, and your clitoris will grow. There's all kinds of wacky stuff in between. But there are two main points. I do agree with that. There are two main sexual points, and then there's a bimodal distribution in between.
Can a man become a woman?
Yes, but that has nothing to... Okay, so I know I said I wouldn't catch you out on this. Do you mean male versus female?
Biologically, yes.
Okay, so for the sake of this argument, and because I don't want to, get a gotcha, male and female would be like sex, right? And then man and woman would be gender.
Correct.
That's typically how it goes. But anyway, you're saying male versus female, right? Like, can a male person become a female person?
Yes.
Right. I know, Queen Laura. I know it doesn't automatically get smaller. It's like if you start with hormone blockers and then take it, your final penis size will be smaller. I understand. Sorry, if that was not clear. Anyway, can a male become a female? Yes.
Okay. Why? Sorry. Then what is the difference between male and a female?
There are several differences. I think that it's complicated. But you have to break them down by trait, right?
Right. So when a male becomes a female, do they then get XX chromosomes, or do they stay XY?
They stay XY. We don't have the technology yet to XX the chromosomes. Maybe one day.
So they stay the same chromosomes as a man.
Hmm? But I believe that people with Swire syndrome are women, even though they're XY. And most doctors would agree with that.
Let them be the exception to the rule.
Sure, but that demonstrates that you can be XY and be the opposite sex, no?
No.
Why not? They're literally people who exist.
By definition of the rule.
Okay.
Right. Humans humans are bipedal mammals. Someone born without a leg doesn't break the rule.
But they do. Literally break the rule. They're not bipedal.
So
they don't have two legs.
You can't describe a human as a bipedal mammal because someone was born without a leg, or someone lost their leg.
I didn't say that. You can generalize, right? Now it's a little bit over the top to always be saying, humans are generally bipedal. Humans generally have 10 fingers and toes. But it is the most accurate way to say it, right? Because not everybody encompasses those traits. So if you just say period, right? I know Ben Shapiro loves to talk about alien invasions and what they would do if they found us. So if you told an alien, like, yeah, humans have 10 fingers and toes, and then they're like, well, this specimen has 9 toes. Is this a human? And then they would get confused if you said yes. So yeah, generally speaking, that is the most correct definition I can give you.
I'm a little confused at what just happened, personally.
So, Swire syndrome means that you have XY chromosomes, and you have all of the sexual anatomy that typical females have. Typical female people, right? So, the chromosomes themselves are clearly not the only deciding factor when it comes to your traits and whether or not you are considered male or female by doctors and by health specialists.
I know females who have male characteristics. Like, right. You see a female with a mustache going.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make them any less female.
I think in that regard, it would slide them a bit toward the male side on the spectrum. That doesn't necessarily make them male.
So...
But that specific characteristic would slide them a teensy bit toward the male side, because we consider that a male trait.
Again, I can't discuss it without knowing what you think a woman is.
A woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. It's different from a female.
So chromosomes don't matter at all.
Correct. It's a gender expression.
Well, I thought you said you wanted to abolish gender.
I want to abolish gender, but we're not going to do that tomorrow. So in the meantime, I'm going to take the most feasible route that I can, the most useful route that I can, and say, you can express whatever gender you'd like, regardless of your sex.
Okay, but what is a female then? So we're talking about sex. What is a female?
Well, I can give you general characteristics that are female, but to say whether or not somebody is a female would be a varying collection of those characteristics.
Is it up to them?
They can identify as female, which is colloquially what we say when we mean
Does that-
they're transgender woman. But I think that when you're speaking scientifically, when you talk about whether somebody is female or not, you can look objectively at some traits and decide where they fall on the scale. But I think in terms of like how useful that is to us, it's really not. So, you know, like you can kind of look at the scale and decide, well, I would like to be here on the scale, and then take hormones or do whatever surgeries you need to achieve that. But I think that's all it's useful for. I think classifying, I think there's a limit to how we classify people with that, like how useful that is to us, if that makes sense. Like I don't know.
So, but can you define what a female is?
Again, I can give you general characteristics. Generally, females have vaginas. Generally, females have uteruses. They have breast tissue. They do not grow facial hair. They have wider hips because of fat distribution. These are all female characteristics. They have higher levels of estrogen and lower levels of testosterone. But not all females encompass all of these characteristics, or even most of them. They don't have to. You know, things get complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and the chromosomes.
So, if I said I'm a female, do I then become a female?
No, but you can start the process toward becoming one. Okay, sliding toward the female side of the scale. I think it would be more accurate to say I am a woman and you become one. Poof. There you be.
Right,
you be
but
a
we
woman.
both, I mean,
Slay queen.
To me, it's the same, like, to me, I don't see a difference between woman and female, but some people do, so we were using the
They're
term
used,
female.
they're very commonly used interchangeably, and I don't, like, I'm not out in society, and people are like, you know, correcting people, this is the female's bathroom, actually. Like, no, I'm a normal person, I promise. But when we're speaking in academic terms and academic contexts like this, I think it's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm. So the way you become female is that you have to fit yourself into the category of what a female is.
You kind of slide yourself closer to that.
If I cut off my penis and I get like breast implants and start taking estrogen and grow my hair long and.
Funny you should mention cutting off your penis. I think that's a mischaracterization of what the actual procedure is. That you know, that'd be more like becoming a eunuch, which is you know, kind of I believe old age Christians did that, if I'm not mistaken. But that's neither here nor there. The actual procedure is turning the penis tissue and testicle tissue and scrotum into, or getting rid of the testes really, but you know, turning the scrotum tissue at least into female, something that resembles female anatomy. Which ultimately kind of is female anatomy, so it functions very much the same. It functions very much the same. It's, you know, it's not perfect, but we're getting there.
It doesn't function at all.
What do you mean by function? You can have sex with it.
Okay, you can have sex with a hole in the wall.
Sure.
That's
some trans women would love that. I know for a fact. Like they, both being the hole and fucking the hole. I've met a lot of trans people.
Okay, right. The function, I think we can agree, is usually reproduction, right? Like
that is
female.
That's one of the functions. I don't think it's always the function. In fact, people have sex way more often than they reproduce. If you're a vagina haver, that
is true, but that's the overall purpose. I mean, obviously a woman has cycles and whatnot, but the overall purpose is to reproduce.
Sure, but not all women want to.
I wasn't talking about that.
Right, so like I don't know, like one of its purposes is pleasure. One of its purposes is sex, and I think it functions quite well for
that. Most transgender people, after having bottom surgery, cannot orgasm.
I don't know that that's a true statistic.
I don't know if it's a large majority or if it's a. I believe it's above 50%.
Okay, where are you getting your data from?
Me. 1 second.
I think the bottom line is, though, I've seen plenty of studies that show after these procedures, like the vast majority of them are very happy with it. So regardless of whether or not they can orgasm, they're clearly happy with the procedure. And that's what's important to me.
The suicide attempt, the attempted suicide rate is no different.
That's not true.
Before and after a procedure is no different.
That's not true.
It's 80%. It's 80% thinking about suicide, and it's 40-something%
Attempting.
attempting suicide.
But that's not the same pre and post transition. Studies show that. Like pre and post, I should say pre and post sex surgical transition.
Which ones?
Which studies?
Yeah, can you give me a study on that?
Yeah, hold up. I have some that I Google, but I should really save them in like a folder or something. It'll only take a second. Hold on.
Why do you think transsexual, transgender people have such a high suicide rate?
Societal pressures.
You think so?
Yes.
So you think they commit suicide that much because they're oppressed?
Yes. That is how we see it happening in most, pretty much all groups of people. Like, not like every single case of attempted suicide, mind you, but like, let's look at, older men, for instance, older divorced men who are like in their 50s. Men in their 50s, actually, I believe, have a higher rate of suicide. I don't know if it's attempts or successes than trans women do, or trans people, I should say. And that is because of the way that they are treated by society at that age, and things that go on in that age that lead up to that point. I think that's a huge problem personally, and I'm a men's rights advocate, as it were. But I don't think that as a result of just, oh, you were born like a white man and you suddenly turn 50 and just biologically you want to Minecraft yourself. Like that's not how it works.
Divorce probably has a lot to do with that. I mean,
huh?
The divorce probably has a lot to do with that.
Right, but the demographic is not even divorce. Like the demographic is just white men in their 50s.
So
but real quick, I will send you this study. Hold on.
Who is it by?
Sorry, this is the wrong study. Hold on.
So transgender people right now have a higher suicide rate than Jews in the Holocaust.
Okay.
Do you really think they're more oppressed than Jews in the Holocaust?
No, I don't believe that. But
then that doesn't really check out.
Well, they have a unique. There is a unique circumstance when it comes to trans people. Jews in the Holocaust, at the very least, could take comfort and solidarity in their own families. Trans people don't even have that luxury. I'm not saying that makes trans people's situation better or worse. I'm just saying it's a significant difference that we have to account for. Because if you don't even have solace in your own family, that's going to be an enormous effect on your mental health. You feel like you don't have anybody around you who even supports you. Like that's very much something we have to consider.
So you're implying that it's harder to be trans. It's more painful.
I just said I'm not trying to compare. I am pointing out factual information. Jews during the Holocaust were not typically oppressed by their own families by virtue of being Jewish. Trans people are oppressed by their own families, by their own flesh and blood, by virtue of being trans. That does happen. So that is a significant difference we have to account for.
The suicide rate in the what is it called, the LGBTQ community of trans people, not all LGBTQ people, like whether they're supported or not, has no effect on the suicide rate.
Hold on.
My argument is that
sorry, I was trying to find that study. Go ahead. Sorry.
My argument is that thinking that you're a different sex than you are is a mental disorder.
Okay, can you support that?
Yes, it goes against reality.
Okay.
A female, by definition, is one thing, and if you are a man and say you are a female, that is you are rejecting reality.
I don't think
it's the same. It's the same way that someone with schizophrenia would say, "The radio's talking to me," or "I hear voices at night," when they don't. Right? You don't oppress them. You don't treat them poorly. But
Trans
you do treat
people,
them differently.
trans people aren't under any illusions as to what they are or are not. They look in the mirror and they see what they see. They don't see things that aren't there. They see things that they wish were there. They see things that they wish weren't there. They want to change those things. They want to be considered, like, they want to be looked at differently by society, much in the same way that I and you probably, since you're a personal trainer, wanted to be looked at different by society, and hence we started lifting. We've drastically changed how our bodies looked. I would call that a form of gender affirmation. We masculinized our bodies so that society would view us differently.
First of all, the gender affirmation would be different because it is the gender that we actually are. It would be gender declination to say that you were to support someone in saying that they were a sex that they aren't.
Wait, what?
So, if I say if there was a man who thought he was a male who thought he was a female, and I said, "Yes, you are a female," that is not gender affirmation. That's or sex affirmation. That is the opposite. You're saying that they aren't what they are.
Most trans people say I'm a woman, or like I'm a man, or I'm non-binary, and then they go from there. They don't jump straight to, yeah, biologically I now identify as having a vagina, even though that's clearly not the case. Like, they don't do that. You know, they're not under any illusions as to what they're packing.
They say that a female doesn't have a vagina.
Not all females do.
Why, for all of human history, have females had vaginas?
I don't know. Were you there?
Were you there
seeing it?
It's been true. This is the first, correct me if I'm wrong. This is transgenderism is a kind of a new phenomenon.
No, it's actually pretty old. There are ancient societies. Even in Rome, I think there was a Roman non-binary emperor or something. This is not new.
The mass delusion is, it is closer to 100% of all females have vaginas than it is to 99.999%.
It's close, sure, but that doesn't mean it's all of them. And that demonstrates, by the way, if there's even one of them, one female without a vagina, that you can have a female without a vagina. Does it not?
Right, but that's an exception. That is something.
It is an exception, you're right.
Twisted.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Trans people, again, are an exception.
No, an exception would be someone who's actually a female. They're not actually a female, they're a man. Or in this,
what makes them a female if not the vagina?
The chromosomes.
Okay, what about Swire syndrome? We talked about that.
We're still sticking with the chromosomes.
If you think that people with Swire syndrome are males, they do have vaginas and ovaries and all that. So I don't know where you're coming from with that one, man. I can't help you.
Not plenty. There are some intersex people,
right?
But their chromosomes are still correct.
Wait.
How do you Swire syndrome?
Correct? Wait. What do you mean their chromosomes are correct? Is there a correct way for chromosomes to be?
Yeah, one way or the other.
Well, there's XXY and XXX and, X and just there's XYY, I think. That doesn't make their chromosomes incorrect. That just makes them different.
There's XX and XY.
Right, but we've also discussed, there's people with Swire syndrome, there's people with other...
That doesn't have any effect on the chromosomes.
Swire syndrome is an XY woman, an XY female, I should say.
Well, then it isn't. That's what I'm saying.
You're wrong. You're literally biologically wrong. They are by definition women.
You can't even tell me what a woman or a female is. And
by definition, females. I told you a woman is anybody who identifies as one. I distinguish.
You're not allowed to use the word.
What's the color red?
It is a color.
What do you mean? It is red a color? Is it the same as the color blue? The color blue is a color. Define red.
Blue is a different color.
Why? Because you said so? Do I believe you? Just because?
Can you tell me why?
Words have definitions, my friend.
Color? Words have definitions? Is that what you said?
Yes.
you can't use a word in its own definition.
I agree with you. What's the color red?
I
Define
don't
it.
know. I don't know how to define it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say
I
red
don't know
is
exactly
red.
how to define what a woman is.
Right,
Except
but
to
we know
say-
for a fact that a woman is not what you say a woman is.
Except it's just to say that a woman is whatever we call a woman.
No, a woman is
Fine.
whoever
I guess you are
whoever
my
says
little
they're a
cock
woman.
champ.
Yeah. Whoever identifies as one.
Well, what is a man? Someone whoever identifies.
That
as
one's a
man?
little bit more complicated.
It is.
No, not really. I'm fucking with you. It's just whoever identifies as a man.
Okay, what is a child?
I guess somebody that is under the age of 18. Although we also call people children above that. And some
Right,
people would
okay,
consider teenagers to not quote unquote technically be children, but you know, I call people children up until they're like 30. I call myself a child sometimes.
Why is man and woman the only words that are defined using their own terms?
Because they're societal constructs, I guess, that we just decided arbitrarily.
The societal
like-
construct. You just gave the definition of a child. A child is a
Well, I wasn't done. I said societal
construct.
constructs that we decided arbitrarily. This trait, these collection of traits means you're a woman. These collection of traits means you're a man, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And none of those traits being you identify as it.
Well, I mean, they changed drastically over time. If King Louis XIV were around today, wearing his high heels and his fucking what else did he wear? Like a dress or something, like a skirt?
We're not talking about societal norms of how people dress.
That's part of gender. It's a big part.
We're not talking about gender. We're talking about sex.
Okay,
And even if we
male
are
and
talking
female,
about gender-
right?
Okay, right. So can you define a female?
I gave you generalities already.
Generalities.
Yes.
But would you say if I identify as a female, then I'm a female?
I think it's a bit more complicated than that. I think colloquially that's fine, but I think in a scientific sense we need to we would have to dig into that more. Really though, what I'm more interested in, quite honestly, is somebody living their best life? Does somebody have good outcomes? Are they enjoying themselves? Are they satisfied? That's really what I care about. I don't care about like, oh, what is a woman? Like, you can't scientifically define it. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Like, it is what it is. Like, if you want to be a woman, great, you're a woman. Like, okay, go for it.
The problem is when someone tries to break reality, it never goes well for them.
What do you mean break reality? What is a trans woman breaking in reality?
That they're a woman. Actually, I don't really even know what that term. Like, I always get confused which one says which.
Trans
You know what I mean?
female.
A trans female, so a man. Someone who I would call a man.
Sure, but they're trans female. Like they have, you know, estrogenizing hormones, and they have some of them, a huge portion of them, I don't know if it's most, but most, I want to say most, get surgical procedures done that help them, you know, like bottom surgery, we call it, right? To give them vaginas.
Why would they do that if they're a female? Why would they feel the need to do that? Why would they feel the need to do that?
Because that's what most women / females have, and that's what they would feel more comfortable with. Why? Who am I to say why they do that? Who cares? Are you against freedom?
Whenever anyone tries to quote unquote break reality.
Why do you wear the shirts that you wear? Why don't you wear different shirts? Why do you enjoy the TV shows that you like? Why don't you enjoy different ones?
Sex is not a preference.
Yeah, I mean, it can literally be a preference.
It's male and female.
Yeah, but you can change it with hormones and surgeries. Hold on, I gotta get batteries.
If you are born,
Give me
if you
one
were
second.
born a man.
All right. I think you're good. All right.
What?
I think you're good. All right. Sorry, what were you saying?
If you are born a man, you cannot become a. You're born a male. You cannot become a female
Why not?
because it's reality.
Okay, how?
How?
Yeah.
What do you mean by how?
Give me a definition.
Of man or male?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, a person with XY chromosomes.
Okay, we just fundamentally disagree because we've already gone over Swire syndrome, man. I just don't know what to tell you. If you go up to a doctor and say, like, this person with Swire syndrome is male, they will look at you like you have 3 fucking heads. They have a vagina, a uterus, they have tits usually. Like, I just don't know what to tell you. Like, that person is XY and is female.
So someone who identifies as a female is not a female at all until they start changing themselves?
They can identify colloquially as female, that's fine. But I think, like I said, the only reason that you would dig further into that and say, well, are you really female? Are you really actually female, though? Is because you're just not coming in good faith. I want to make sure that people have the best outcomes possible. That's what I care about. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, but are you really female? Like, have you done the surgery yet? Are you lying to me? I don't care. I have no right.
If that's actually what you wanted, you wouldn't play with the fantasy. Play in the fantasy.
It's not, but how is it a fantasy to give somebody the best care that you can and give them the best outcomes? I just don't get it. It's not fantasy. That's just, in a very real sense, they are living their best life.
Then why do they have such a high suicide rate? You said because of society,
because
right?
people hate
And
trans people. People who are bullied have a higher suicide rate. I hate to break the news to you.
That is true.
Yes.
No, very few, if any, group has a higher suicide rate than trans people. And so
white men in their 50s do, but I digress.
Why do people before, when did the transgender movement start? You don't see the suicide rate throughout history, meaning transgender people are a societal construct, as you like to say.
They're only a societal construct because gender itself is a societal construct. That's by definition what they have to be. They're transgender.
Okay,
gender being a construct.
Transsexuals.
Transsexual? So wait, sorry, repeat what you said, transsexual. Like,
if
throughout history.
Transsexuals existed outside of peer pressure or outside of which they do, but the majority of them today do not.
Wait, the majority of them today, hold on, they don't what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The majority of people today who identify as transsexual or non-binary or queer or whatever do it because of society.
Can you back that up with data?
Never in history has there been this many of those people.
I wonder why that is. What did we do with trans people before our modern period?
Well, I thought they were oppressed now.
They are oppressed now. I think they were oppressed worse before. There was a lull in oppression that happened because people were coming to grips with people being gay and people being trans, and they were fine with it for a while. And then now, suddenly, there's this huge push toward the far alt-right to persecute them again and literally outlaw affirmation procedures that they need. So, yeah, they always have been oppressed. They will be for the foreseeable future, at least. But there was a lull, I think, in like the 20-aughts. And I think that's a good thing that happened. And also the internet brought us closer together. So,
but why wasn't there why wasn't there, see, it's not adding up because there would have been a higher suicide rate in the past. An unknown, like, people wouldn't know why people were committing suicide in the past.
I don't know that we have data for that from way back then. I mean, if you do, I'd love to see it. I just don't think we have that.
It's clear that people who thought they were a different sex, the majority of people who think they're a different sex is because of culture today.
Is it clear?
It is. Because they did not exist before.
You're wrong.
And if they did exist before, there would be a higher suicide rate.
But you're wrong. Like, how do you even quantify a suicide rate from way back then when we didn't even measure it? Like, we didn't measure suicide rates of trans people back when we were literally putting trans people on a pike. We didn't do that. We didn't care.
Right, but there wasn't. It's like how people can measure black matter without knowing if it exists, right? You can measure,
but they base that off of calculations and
measure
real data. You're just basing yours off of like, well, I say that there was
absence of data. There is no
Right.
no high suicide rate.
So you're just guessing.
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if it did exist, there would have been more suicide before. And I'm not
but
talking
we
about
weren't measuring it.
I'm not talking about 5,000 years ago. I'm talking about 100 years ago.
But I don't even think we were measuring it 100 years ago, and I could be wrong about that, but I don't think that we were.
You are.
Okay, well then I would love to see the data, please.
There are plenty of censuses. I don't even know how to say it plural.
Sure.
There are plenty of censuses. I mean, 2,000 years ago.
Right, but I don't think in the 1800s they were like, yes, well, we have to take the transgender population into consideration. Have you thought about that, Mackie?
There wasn't one.
Right. Wait, what do you mean there wasn't one? Wait, then how is there going to be any suicide rate at all for trans people if your assertion is that there wasn't any trans people?
That's exactly my point. No one was committing suicide because they didn't exist, because society didn't push them to be like that. When in history have we been pushing kids to cut off their genitals? That's another thing. Like, why are you for like quote unquote gender affirming care for minors? Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I unplugged my mic by accident. Yes, I am in favor of gender affirming care for minors, yes.
Why is that?
Because it's been shown medically to improve their circumstances, reduce depression and anxiety, and reduce their chances of suicide.
Have you seen the many people coming down from... what studies do you have to... There are no studies to suggest that.
I think there's a whole meta-analysis of like 32 studies, or like 50 studies or something.
Right, but those are... Right, those are the studies... I know what you're talking... The 32 number sounds familiar. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
When they measure 3 months after, and they stop following them, many times, and the selection group is so small that it could not even be considered a credible study.
How many people would you consider a sizable selection group? How many trans kids do you think there are?
There's not many.
Okay, so I think it would stand to reason that we would not have a very high...
You can't say that it improves.
Yeah, you can, based on the proportions of the trans people, the trans children that we know exist, and the ones that we've taken into consideration. We'll never get all of the trans kids in one room to study them for 5 years. We just can't do that. That's not feasible. So we have to go off the data we have. And if there's not a whole lot of trans kids to begin with, which there aren't, we're going to have small numbers in the studies. That's just a consequence.
There are more people who come back with not being able to reproduce when they thought they were going to be able to.
Okay, where's your data to support that?
I can show you. It's a documentary called Detransitioning.
That's a documentary.
It's data. They go over data.
Hold on. Who made this documentary? What's the data? I need a study.
That's another thing. Everyone, all of the data in favor of pushing transgenderism on children is made by the people who are directly profiting from transing kids.
That's interesting, because I could say the same thing about knee surgeries, diabetes, heart attacks.
That's
pretty
why
much everything.
That's why you don't trust doctors.
Oh, so you're saying that the profit motive is your problem? Well, good for you, man. I am very glad that we've come to an agreement that socialized healthcare is in fact the way to go. Welcome, comrade. I'm very glad that you joined the fight for Medicare for all. It's good to have you.
That you can't trust. I love how you every time I get you on something, you just run away to a different conversation.
I didn't run away. You said that they're profiting off of it. I agree with you.
Comrade. Like, what are you talking about? You did run away.
Hold on. I agree with you that
you
doctors
cannot.
should. Hold on.
You do not agree with me. You cited studies. That were done by doctors then you now say that you don't agree with. Which one is it? Do you
I
agree
didn't
with
say
the
that I
doctors,
don't
or do
agree
you
with the
not?
doctors. I said that there is malpractice that happens as a result of doctors wanting profit. But if the doctors were only after profit,
Then
they
why
would
did
pull
you
a
stop the
Dr.
studies?
fucking Oz and they would just make sugar pills and sell them for vast amounts of money. That's what he did.
Dr. Oz was heavily in favor of trans in kids early on.
I don't care about what he did early on other than the fact that he sold fake supplements.
Yeah, so maybe you shouldn't trust people who are selling their own product.
Okay, then never go to a doctor again.
That's what you get outside information.
Huh?
You're going off of data that is purely from the people who are profiting from that data.
It's from people who are subsidized by the government to find objective reality.
There are people who are directly profiting from the data given.
No, the studies that are done by government facilities are funded by taxpayer money to do those studies. They have
And
no
what do you think
incentive
would
one way or
happen?
the other to find whatever. They just find stuff.
That is just patently false. The studies that are being done by the doctors who have a financial incentive to say that they work.
Well, then where's your data against it?
The suicide rate is one.
No, it's not.
Even the suicide rate. Do you know the suicide rate is of people who transition?
What is it?
40% attempted suicide.
I just don't think that's accurate. Where are you pulling that information from?
We agreed on it earlier.
No, we didn't.
PubMed.
I specifically said post-transition, people have a lower chance of suicide. I said that. And I was going to pull up a study and I didn't finish finding it. Hold on. New study shows transgender people who receive gender-affirming surgery are significantly less likely to experience psychological distress or suicidal ideation. Published by JAMA Surgery found that gender-affirming surgery... Here, I'll link you what I'm reading.
By JAMA Surgery?
Yeah.
I assume the people who are doing the surgeries.
I mean, don't you have to kind of be involved in the surgery in order to know whether or not it's improving
I
outcomes?
can look at the sun and tell you it's hot without being on it.
What?
I can also tell you it's red when it's red.
What reason do they have to lie?
Financial benefits.
Okay, why do
If
you
they
not say
said-
that people who do
If
knee
they said that these
surgeries...
do not work, then no one would come up to them.
Well, then why don't they just
Don't
produce
they-
sugar pills? I don't get it.
You
Why go
said-
through all this trouble? Why specifically trans procedures?
It's not specifically trans procedures.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
it's
There's
all-
other stuff.
It's across all fields of study, no matter what it is, you have to be cross-checked. You
have to
can't
be
just
what?
have a bunch of doctors who are cutting off children's genitals saying, "Yeah, this is good."
That's just not happening, man. They do genital surgery on adults. Suicide
minors.
risk reduces 73% in transgender non-binary youths with gender-affirming care. There you go. It's not even, and that's gender-affirming care, by the way. That's just like puberty blockers. That's not surgery. Like, bottom surgery does not happen until 18 plus.
That's not true.
Okay?
That's
Prove
not
it.
true.
Prove it.
Okay, yeah, there was talking about Matt Walsh.
Now, I should say also, there are going to be extraordinary circumstances that are not, hold on.
And then you tell me that I'm going to prove it.
Yeah, you're going to find one and be, haha, fuck you.
It was
when that's not happening on a large scale.
A government-sponsored hospital that said multiple times that it is okay. Like the person said, "Yeah, my daughter's 16 and she wants bottom surgery." And they
Oh
said
my god,
multiple
you're
times-
talking about that Chaya Rai chick fucking call. Dude, I've debunked that on my channel. She called and she spoke to a receptionist who said, yes, right, we can
was
do that.
on their
And then she got,
website, too.
hold on, let me finish. She got switched over to a nurse who said, okay, how old is she? 16. Okay, yeah, so we can go ahead and, get started with that. I think that's what her words were. The procedure.
That will be no problem.
Hold on. The procedure for getting a surgery like that takes years. You can be put on a years-long waiting list.
That is complete bullshit.
That's
That
why.
is complete bullshit.
That's not bullshit. What do you think? You just
It
walk
is.
up like you're at a McDonald's drive-thru and say, "Well, yes, one surgery, please."
They
And then the
were-
doctor
they
pulls out his
said
scalpel and he's like,
on the
"Alrighty,
website,
step
it
up,
wasn't
young
just
boy.
them. They
Step
said
on
that
up.
they
It's
would
time to cut it
perform
off."
surgeries
Like, that
on a
doesn't
minor.
happen.
They said that they would perform bottom surgery on a minor. They do double mastectomies.
I
for
listened
girls
to
all the time.
I listened to that call. They did not confirm that they will perform a procedure on a minor. They did
They
not
do
do that.
double mastectomies on minors all the time.
Double mastectomies, that is not a
said.
genital procedure.
I didn't say it was.
Yeah, but
It
you
is-
said yes, but we're talking. You first
It
of all,
is a
I was talking
gender,
about
quote,
bottom
unquote,
surgery. I said bottom surgery.
I said, okay, that's
Mastectomies,
fine. We can stay with bottom surgery. It still fits.
mastectomies,
They do it.
mastectomies tend to be performed on adults. They tend to be. Okay, now there are exceptions when doctors and the teenager and the parents are in the room and they all decide, listen, we've talked to the gender specialists, we've talked to the doctors, etc. Your child is clearly distressed about having breast tissue come in. They don't want that. And now they're having suicidal ideation. Now they're having body dysmorphia. They're having depression, anxiety, whatever it happens to be. And if the doctors decide, yeah, you know what? I think that your life would be better. You would focus more in school. You would be able to spend more time with your friends. You would just have a better overall life if we just got rid of the problem. And then they do it. And they're happier. The vast majority of them are happier. And I'm not going to be the one to step into that goddamn doctor's office and tell them that they are wrong. Because I don't know.
Many times the parents are literally kicked out of the like, if there's a divorce and one has custody and the other doesn't, one has no say. Parent I'm talking about.
How many children do you think are getting mastectomies? How many times do you think this happens?
I don't have it. I don't have an exact number of it.
Matt
It's
Walsh
irrelevant.
seemed to. He thought it was millions.
I don't think it's millions.
He was off by quite a bit.
Again, it doesn't matter how many. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 10 billion. It doesn't matter. What matters is if it's right or wrong. I'm talking about principle here, not about how many people get it.
Right, your principle though is just based off of an arbitrary measure of like, oh well, you know, I don't believe that it's right because I said
I thought
so.
it was okay to be
Whereas
arbitrary.
I've already said in the abortion
I thought
debate
it was
as
okay
well.
to be arbitrary.
In the abortion debate as well, I'm about outcomes. I'm about people living their best lives. I'm about people being happy and satisfied. That's what I want. That's what I care about. I don't give a damn about what a woman is. I don't give a damn about what a female is. I don't care. Beyond discussing interesting topics that delve into philosophy more often than not, I don't give a flying fuck. Okay? What I care about is that somebody is happy and satisfied and living their best life. And the fact of the matter is, trans children who are affirmed live better lives. That's the fact. And I have ample studies to prove that.
It's again not true.
Well, you're just wrong then.
I actually don't think you care about transgender people. I think you're just parading
No.
around like that to get more viewers.
Maybe you're right, buddy. Maybe you're right. I think we're about done here. He hung up.
This is gone.
He's gone.
Oh my god. I was feeling my brain die.
Ah, good shit, man.
That was the worst thing I had experienced in a long time.
That was beautiful.
And I wasn't even involved.
Fuck. Dude, that dude was such a cuck. I agree. What an L.
Hey, kiddo.
Want to grab a chair?
You want to grab a chair? Yeah, I'll grab a chair.
It's
Hi,
in
guys.
It's in the laundry room.
Laundry room?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to move the stuff out of the laundry room when we actually have
I know.
like a washer and dryer.
I know. We got a laundry room now, chat. Look at me being all bougie. Thank you so much for the sub, New Rap Messiah. Appreciate you. Welcome, everybody. Oh my goodness, we have so many people. Somebody tell me how many people we have watching. I'm curious. I don't have the count up.
Oh no.
Stop the count. Stop the count.
Okay. Hello. I returned to the chair. Your
Step
phone was
right
on the
up.
ground.
Oh, thank you. 54 by my count. Shit.
Holy Lord!
Okay, there we go. My goodness, that is a lot of people.
Wow, hi.
I got your SIG money. Thank you for coming back. Well, thank you for being here.
Yes.
I can move the chat a little closer to you if you want, but...
Oh, no, I can read it from here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that was a thing that we did.
Holy shit.
I'm sorry I wasn't reading the chat very much. I was, focused.
Focus.
There are very many
So
friends
many
here.
friends.
Welcome in, everybody.
Ooh. Ghost
My
of
first
Avalon.
stream.
I love that username.
Oh yeah, he's a mod now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Love that username.
You're a patient man. I try.
Oh my god.
The best route to take with these people is to be patient and just wait them out. They'll show their true colors.
The only reason I was able to like not go completely insane when he started saying the craziest shit, I was sat over there, I was playing Hades the entire time. I was like, I'm just beating the shit out of these little enemies.
On a completely different server, Twinkland 1985. They're talking about me.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's funny.
Damn.
Discord server. The Cornfield
Oh,
Mechatranser. Matt Walshers are so brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually honestly easier than I thought it would be. I stumbled a little bit, I feel like, at first, but like with the abortion debate, like defining what a person is. But I think I picked up steam.
I think next time maybe like a tip would be you know, oh god, I'm trying to remember what you were saying because I thought about it. I was thinking about it. God. It had something to do with like the concept of a person.
Yeah.
Like a human,
Personhood.
like a human is the species. A human is the species.
Right.
We are humans. That is the species that we are.
Right.
Animals are also part of species. There's the species of tigers, and there's subspecies, and so on and so forth. Blah 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 blah. But like we see that people, person to person, are different from each other. Like every person is a unique person, just like every animal is a unique animal. So until you are that thing, until you are that unique thing outside of the body, separated from the person that was giving you life, then you are just a parasite that will eventually grow into a person if you are left there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I had a better way of saying it earlier, but
You need to know that the 40% or 41% number is from a debunked Swedish study. I'm still willing to roll with it because it still fits into my narrative. I heard Walsh talking about this as far as like the, 50-30, or what is it, 50% of black people commit 30, I forget. 12% of the population commit like 50% of the crimes. 1250, I think. Like that's technically a debunked statistic as well.
Right.
1350, thank you. Technically a debunked statistic as well. It's off by some, but like for all intents and purposes, just don't question it because it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. So, will you scroll up a little bit because there was something someone said that I wanted to comment on because I was thinking it while it was happening. Yeah. So the scapegoat says that one second where you asked about masturbation and he said, well, I try not to. I knew this was going to be an interesting one. Yeah. I messaged him on Discord. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to mess up the vibe and I didn't want to disturb what was going on. But I messaged you on Discord and I was like, I saw that. This man is the most boring person in all of existence. These arguments are ridiculous. And I'm like, he was just like, well, I try not to. It's morally, I consider it to be more morally wrong, but not ethically wrong. Like, dude.
I was like, you know.
Have you ever considered, like, and the problem is he can't just go get laid and feel better.
I hit him. That's true.
He can't go get laid and feel better, so he's just like all kinds of fucked.
I kept hitting him with the words have meaning.
Yeah. Oh, I kept hearing. Every time I heard that, I was like, ooh, here we go.
Words do in fact have meaning.
They do, as a matter of fact, have meaning. I know they have meaning. I have to teach that. Yeah.
It's funny. He just kept harping on like, well, you know, words have meaning, you know. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that. I'm aware of that fact. And then he kept breaking his own rule. Maybe all the sticky coom is stored in the cogs of his brain. Yeah, if you know fat for long enough, that does happen. Unfortunately, it's a very sad occurrence that we're looking into scientifically for cures. Good for stress and your prostate. That is true. That's not fair. Most of us can't feel better regardless of getting laid or not. I am so sorry. Endorphins are released during sex, so it's kind of like a high.
Yep.
A little bit. Masturbation's actually good for you. I think, honestly, masturbation in like a biological, physical sense is like neither good nor bad, but I think that restraining yourself from doing it can be bad because it makes you stressed and shit. Like,
Also, like, it is beneficial for you to know what makes you feel good so that in the future you can tell another person who you might be with at the time, hey, this is what you can do to make me feel good. Like,
I thought it was funny when I'm like,
it's
have you had sex? He's like, no. I'm like, oh. I was not expecting that answer, but I didn't, you know, I didn't hate on him for it. I thought if I like made fun of him for it.
I don't think he's an incel, but he could be.
He's probably an incel.
Fair enough. There was no the only I didn't hear a ton of buzzwords, I guess, from him, or maybe I probably wasn't paying close enough attention. So that's all.
Right.
That's all that is. I'm glad that you guys have picked up on that because I was going to say anyway. Well, but yeah.
That was fun.
Good lord. What have you been playing this whole time?
This is Risk of Rain 2. So Risk of Rain 1 is it's the same game as Risk of Rain 1 except it's 3D. And I'm not like focused on it at all, so I'm not progressing very far, but
it's very pretty.
Yeah, it's good for ADHD to just have something to play it. It is very pretty. You'd probably like it.
It's very mystical, like
I keep playing as the same character, but you can play as like other characters. The longer you don't use your penis, actually, the poorer it performs and difficult it's actually using it. Yeah.
I also, the moment like, I know you guys were talking about trans people and everything, but the one time, or maybe the one or two times, or whatever, that he said, like, that he was also putting non-binary people, which do fall under the trans umbrella, yada, 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 that's a whole other thing. But every time he said something, I was like, ooh, say something again, say something again, say something blatantly incorrect so I can come over there. But at the same time, I was like, please don't say anything that's going to infuriate me too much because I do not want to ruin what's going on right now. I do not want to mess this up for him, but say something again.
Yeah, don't worry, I would have stopped you. Like, hold on now, Katie. It's okay.
No, wait a minute.
We're not all as smart as I am. That's the thing is, like, if you can just maintain a calm demeanor. Like, I didn't do a very good job against Andrew, aka Big Papa Fascist, because I was not calm. Like, you need to just like sit back and let them dig their own hole, and then just push them in.
Yeah, no, every time I did, as I was like half listening over on the couch, I was just kind of like, he's really not seeing the logical fallacy he's just put himself in, the logical grave-sized fallacy he's put himself in right here.
Grave-sized.
Yes.
Shark did a great job against Andrew. That he did. I did not watch the whole thing because I was disappointed in how poorly I did against Andrew. To be fair, though, Andrew's a different beast. He's dumb, but like he's not dumb when it comes to debate. Like he knows what he's doing. He knows how to make the other person look like they don't know what they're talking about. A lot better than most conservatives do, and that's hard to do when you're wrong. Mm-hmm. So, you know, kudos to him for that at least.
There was a TikTok going around for a while. This girl who, like, just very stereotypical pretty blonde girl, and she said something like, just got an A+ on my, just a conservative woman getting an A+ on her paper using like liberal ideas or something. And it was like, shouldn't it concern you if you can only get a good grade on a paper by using ideas that are what you are against? Shouldn't that tell you something?
You're just rehashing what we all already know, and that's that the reason colleges are full of leftists and liberals is because reality has a left-leaning bias.
Right. It's also, you're required to have like fact-based, peer-reviewed evidence in a lot of college papers. Like I had to like there was a whole paper I wrote about toxic masculinity in 300, the movie 300. And I like one of the instructions for the assignment was at least oh God, how many sources did we have to have? I think we had to have 7 sources or something like that we pulled information from. It was a long paper. But we had to have like 7 sources. 4 of them had to be peer-reviewed studies and had to be like scientific papers or like research papers.
Yep.
Like all of them had to, like a majority of them had to be that. And then you could use a website, but our professor was like, you know, obviously, if you're unsure about the information, like come talk to me, blah, 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 blah. But anyway.
Well, and you know, like they did the same thing with us in nursing school. And, you know, it gives us that basis of like how to figure out what's accurate and what's not, what's a reliable source and what's not. And conservatives, I mean, even if they go to college, I don't know what their deal is. Like you know what it is? Most of them don't go into a field that requires that. That's what it is. They go into like fucking economics. And, you know, I'm not saying economics is useless, and if you have an economics degree, you're a conservative by default or whatever, but, like, conservatives tend toward that field because, like, they don't have to, like, study things that go against their preconceived biases that confirm the opposite of what they believe.
I think the only person I know of who was in, like, a business major who wasn't was sophomore year of college.
Oh, no.
I think she was the only one I ever.
She probably had a hell of a time.
She was a lovely person. I miss her. We connect. She was lovely. You remember her, right? Short.
We went to your first birthday with her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah, lovely.
She was a lovely person.
She was all the way up
I've been
in,
kind of
like,
wondering what
Cleveland
happened
now.
to her.
She's all the way up in like Cleveland. She's so far.
Did you know that conservatives have a larger amygdalas than liberals? I did know that. Their fear response is quite a bit.
I did not know that.
So their fear response, that's literally true. They are biologically different in their brain because their fear response is heightened. Because they're very much like babies are very scared of things that are not familiar to them, and that's why they are the way they are. The amygdala is what is responsible for the fear response, fight or flight. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares?
Have sex with your hand. Put on a little sock
Jesus.
puppet, if that helps. Doesn't help me personally, but I don't kink shame.
Just, yeah, you can do. Thank you. What were you? Kit Iferna?
Kit Lafura?
Sorry, I couldn't tell if that was an L or an I. I apologize. But Kit, thank you. You can, in fact, do both. As is said in the timeless classic, The Road to El Dorado. Both is good.
Oh my God.
What? Come on, that's a great movie. Have you ever seen that movie?
I know that I have. It's been a long ass time. We watched it in Spanish class.
Oh, it's so good. I watched it just cause.
Would that constitute a mental disorder? I think it'd be an anxiety disorder, which, I mean, conservatism, I personally would argue at a certain point reaches the point of mental disorder, yes. I do think that. It is its own brand of brain disease. Shark was in here earlier. He was helping me out. He linked me something.
But if you only do problem? No, it's not. It's not a problem.
What's not a problem?
Masturbating if you want. Like, only doing that, I suppose. It's not a problem.
I mean, I don't do what I say, not as I do, but, you know, I don't do it with both hands, which makes one of them slightly unequal. So, like, I would say, if, like, try to do it with both hands, be ambidextrous about it. But other than that, I mean, there's really not many downsides to it.
Oh my god, this is so funny.
If you're only jerking it, no, I mean, if, like, there is a point where, like, you become addicted to the practice, and you just don't want to do anything else, of course. Like, that's a behavioral addiction. Shit, I gotta get back to the teleporter.
There's fireballs! Get back! Oh, shit!
Well, it's because it doesn't, like, charge unless I'm right next to it, and I forgot.
Oh god, you keep getting shot!
It's not a big deal. I regenerate health.
Oh, okay. I've never seen this game before, so I'm very...
It's fun. It's got, like, champions, more or less.
Okay. Also, to the person who said that a paper about toxic masculinity in 300 must have been a really long paper, we were told it could not be longer than 5 double-spaced pages. So we could elaborate on our we could elaborate on our thoughts, but we couldn't go on forever and ever and ever and ever. It was meant to be not super duper long. But it was a lot to write.
I have no idea when I'm going to cut off this video because I'm still technically recording, but there's no way I'm keeping our whole conversation. So I'm just going to stop.
Yeah.
And let the cards fall where they may.